Hey everyone! This is not the film is Okie Dokie. It is us, CJ and Tommy. Say hi, Tommy.
Hi, Tommy.
No, shut up.
Oh,
We're
fuck.
here because no, not you, the guy behind you. Yeah, him. He has not filled out his Oscar ballot for the Okie Dokie Oscar ballot competition.
Fuck that guy.
Fuck that guy. But you just didn't know. But fuck the guy behind you. That guy didn't do it on purpose.
He knew.
So, Tommy, what is it for the person that didn't know, honestly, in front of the guy who's just being a jackass?
So we are running an Oscar pool ballot thing where you fill out your predictions. There's kind of a point system. It's all explained in there. The Oscars are this upcoming March 2nd. It's a Sunday. And this Oscar pool, you can submit a submission up until noon on that day. And I'm going to tally all the point totals based on who's most correct, who gets all the points. And the winner gets a prize determined by CJ. So we don't know what it is yet. CJ, where do they fill out this? Find this ballot.
Well, the Google form, which is the official entry for the competition, is in the Discord. So you have to be in the Discord, the Film is Okie Dokie Discord, which should be linked in the description of wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. And you have to stay in the Discord, so you can't do it and then leave. So fill it out and stay. Now, I know some of you are waiting for some pre-Oscar buzz to die down before you fill out your ballot. That's perfectly acceptable, but I want us to have more than we currently have. We currently have X. I want us to have 2X by March 2nd.
You want us to have 2 million people?
Yeah, because we already have 1 million. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, and then Tommy is going to count it all by hand.
Yes, all 2 millions of them.
Yep, it's
like
going to
grains
take us
of rice.
Literally years to figure out who won. We're never going to do another one of these again because we'll never find out who won this one.
So go join the Okie Dokie Discord server. The ballot is pinned in general. Please go fill it out.
It's also pinned in the server. Hi-oh!
What? Wait, what? What?
You said in general.
So wait, are you going to pin me?
No.
Oh. Would you like to?
Goodbye, everybody. Enjoy the show. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Film is Okie Dokie. Tommy, did you swap your headphones?
Fuck!
My name is...
I'm doing it now!
He's doing it live. We're doing it live! My name is CJ. I purposely waited until we got live to do that, so...
And I'm Tommy.
Yay! So, so now that you have the right headphones on, how are you? What you been up to?
I'm good. What have I been up to? Good question. Well, I don't want to spoil one of my recs. So,
okay.
I've been enjoying the NFL season just started.
That's true. Yep.
Which is exciting. I wouldn't say I'm the biggest. I'm not like, I don't know. I'm not someone who sits there and watches Red Zone all day. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but like I'll watch the Bears games and I'll watch any other games if my friends are watching them. But otherwise, I don't really have too much interest in it. But it's still been fun having, an extra conversation piece.
Sure.
How about you, CJ?
I'm good. I've been watching a lot of football as well. College football, I don't have an affiliation like I do for the NFL. We just don't have a lot of colleges up here that do football really well. Like it's just, and college is a super regional sport. So like there is no great middle of upstate New York college. Yeah, Buffalo is too far away. Syracuse is too far away. Like, it doesn't hit the same. But I've been watching the games. And to your point, I also do not watch Red Zone all day. But I like to watch the Patriots. And if there's a really good game on in the 4:30 window, I'll watch that. But I try to watch Sunday, Monday, and Thursday. I try to. Those are the primetime games. I try to watch those. I don't know how many. And especially during the season, I watch a lot with my friends. So, it's a fun time. I definitely religiously watch the Pats games, though. So that is my cross to bear.
Filthy Pats fan.
Yeah, I know.
And filthy Yankees fan.
Yeah, I know. And filthy Bulls fan and filthy
Okay,
Chelsea fan.
okay, hold on. Let's calm down with the filthy Bulls part. Okay,
Oh, okay.
that's not bad. Bulls
All right,
fan
cool.
ain't bad.
I like being a Bulls fan. I
Being
like
a Bulls
Stacey
fan
King.
is so fun and so miserable.
Yeah, it is, man. You know, I know that DeMar DeRozan wasn't going to be able to retire there, but watching him go for Chi Chi Beans was not fun. Not fun at all.
You know, speaking of sports, CJ, I actually had a story I wanted to tell you.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know who Joe Girardi is?
Yes, former Yankees catcher and former Yankees skipper and current Yankees entertainment station commentator.
Also, former Cubs catcher.
Yes.
And also a current Cubs commentator as well.
Really?
Yes.
He double dips?
Yeah, he is both. He's on Marquee Sports Network as well.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes. So, this CJ, you're a bit aware of what my dad does, and for the listener, my dad is a huge Cubs fan. Huge Cubs fan, obsessive. Like, he has a job that allows him to work pretty much wherever. So he travels around the country following the Cubs. He will go and stay at the Hotel Zachary right next to Wrigley, like it's the Cubs-owned hotel. He'll stay there. Despite living in the Chicago area, he will stay there just to have like the ease of access to Cubs games and stay there for a series. Huge Cubs fan. And as part of this, with him following the team around all the time and going all of these playoffs games whenever they're in the playoffs and just hanging around the Hotel Zachary. The Hotel Zachary is where the Cubs put up like any players who are in town for media or any ambassadors. Joe Girardi, for example, will stay there. The Cubs will put him up in there. And because my dad is always there at this hotel, he just likes to hang around. And he runs into a lot of current and former players and a lot of personalities surrounding the Chicago Cubs.
Okay.
So the other day, he sent me a picture, a selfie of himself with Joe Girardi. CJ, I just sent in the show chat channel this picture. So my dad sends this picture with Joe Girardi, and he says, Joe says hello, and I say, hi, Mr. Girardi. And then he starts going on about how nice of a guy Joe is. And then my dad says, by the way, I told him you are a YouTube guy. And he told him my YouTube channel name. So we live in a universe where Joe Girardi has at the very least heard the words tomato anus.
That's really funny.
I thought you would get a kick out of that.
That's really funny, yeah.
Yeah, and you can see like the text I had with my dad about that. Like, oh wow, so Joe Girardi is vaguely aware of tomato anus. He goes, he laughed at the name, so yes, he is aware.
Jesus. I love that. That's great.
It's hilarious. But it's annoying because my dad, it's annoying because it's my dad doing it. And he runs into so many famous people that he is convinced that he is famous himself as well.
Okay.
All my life has talked about how he is famous as well. It's just like, what? Because you have a job, so like, okay. Whenever I try and explain this to people, everyone always like, I don't know, Tommy. Kind of sounds like your dad is famous. He's not. I'm telling you flat out now, my dad is not famous.
This is really affecting you. I can really tell.
I have so much personal I call him the mayor of nowhere, or the mayor of nothing, because like everyone knows him. But it's like, it's just shit like, oh, he's a local business owner, so people know him through that because, like, you know, they're clients of his. Or, I used to play basketball with this dude, you know? And people will come and like, oh, I've just totally doxed my dad. People will go up to him and be like, oh, Tomato Anus's dad, Tommy's dad. It's good to see you. And he's like, a lot of times I don't even know who they are. He's like, oh, Tommy's dad. How are you doing? He's like, I'm famous. I'm so famous. So I hate anything that feeds into this illusion of his that he is famous.
Oh my God. So he isn't famous.
He is not famous. He is not.
He thinks that he's famous.
Yes. At most, locally known.
How about local character of note?
I like that. I like
Yeah.
calling him a character because my dad has like very little self-awareness in many areas where he thinks he's the most normal person to ever exist, and anyone who's different from him, like in terms of like anything, is just like, oh, they're weird. He's like, I'm the gold standard for how people should be, and if someone like, if someone isn't a Cubs fan or if someone doesn't like this certain type of food, they're the weird ones. So I like calling him a character of note because just using the term character to me implies some sort of hinkiness.
Listen, there's a lot to unpack here. You having this conversation about your dad, and it's not the venue for it. So I'm not going to dive too deep, but I just wanted to say, in case you haven't already heard this a billion times, you look exactly like your dad.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know.
Like, people say that all the time. Like, oh, you look so much like your parent, and you look, and you're like, I guess. But, like, no, you really do. Like, you're, no, as someone said to my dad when I was 8, don't go to court saying that ain't your son.
Yeah. No, and you know what's funny is I sent this picture of my dad with Joe Girardi to other people, and another person responded with just verbatim, holy shit, you look exactly like your dad. That's crazy.
It's just, I mean, it's true.
It's just my dad is a lot tanner. He has like very like.
Oh, it's because you spend all your time inside.
No, he has like the sun-kissed Italian skin tone genetics.
Are you sure?
Yeah, my sister has the same skin tone as him, whereas I have the fair skin like tone from like the Irish genetics in me from my mom. He just by default is very tan. I could never get that tan. Okay,
I'll allow it. I also have very fair. They call it the China white skin. I have the very fair white skin. Unfortunately,
it sucks sunburning so easy.
I also have vitiligo. And
is that how it's pronounced?
I don't know. I've only seen it written.
Shit.
Anyway, my skin gets whiter all the time.
Mm.
You can see what little tan I have just drifting away.
Mm.
It's more obvious in the summer when you and I don't hang out as much, and so you might not notice, but I'll try to point it out next time that we hang out.
I would love for you to point that out for me.
Yeah, I will. No, I did show you.
Oh, wait. Wait, is this...
No. Don't you dare mention this.
Okay.
Don't you dare.
Okay, I won't. But that is what it was?
No, that's just an unfortunately placed thing.
Okay.
Yeah. We are not. Speaking of things that we're not talking about.
Speaking of talking about sports, CJ, understand you watched the Bears game this weekend.
I did, dude, and that homie is not holding up. Oh no, wait, you're talking about
the Bears game.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Bear. Right.
So yeah, that center looks like poop.
Oh yeah, not good. Wait, CJ. I understand. Actually, this isn't about Da Bear as in Da Bear, the game that they play. This is about Da Bear show. Right?
Yes.
Da Bear Hard Knocks. Let's talk about it, CJ. I'm so glad you watched Da Bear Hard Knocks.
No, wait. What are you doing? What is this bit? I don't understand. I didn't watch Hard Knocks.
You didn't watch the TV show Hard Knocks The Bears? Then what is this Bear TV show we have a note about that we need to talk about?
It's the guy from Shameless, isn't it?
Jeremy Allen White?
Yeah, and Oliver Platt.
He's Cicero, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
is like in the show. Okay. Let's actually transition into what we're about to talk about. CJ, what have you been watching the past week?
I've been watching The Bear. With Jeremy Allen White.
Why didn't you say so from the beginning?
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, I've been watching that. You literally banged the table for it.
I did.
And so I rendered unto you that which you asked.
Perfect. And how did you like it?
At first.
Oh, boy.
I was just in the middle of the road on it. I really, really liked season 2. And season 3 was kind of like, because it felt like we were in a ship that wasn't going anywhere. And I didn't like how some things were playing out. But now that I've had a few days to let it digest, to let it sit on my palate.
Real quick, can I interrupt and just say,
yes.
Let's first talk non-spoilers.
Yes.
And then we can dive into talking about spoiler stuff if we want.
I wasn't going to spoil
into the description.
Yeah, I wasn't going to spoil in this part. I let it sit on my palate for a couple days. I tasted it. I let it digest. I let it sit with me, and I think I really like the show. But I want to see how the show ends in its totality before I recommend it to other people.
Okay.
So I think I really like
it. Well, I'm glad you at least enjoyed it.
I did enjoy it. I really enjoyed it. I binged it in 2-3 days. Like, I ran right through it.
Very nice.
So it was a good watch. Very easy to binge. And obviously, you really like it.
Yeah, I've watched it multiple times. I've watched the first 2 seasons multiple times. Season 3 has only been out. It's been out like about 2 months, and I've been super busy for most of those 2 months, so I've only watched it once, but I'm sure I'll rewatch season 3 sometime.
And you've given me shit for rewatching Ted Lasso.
Well, yeah, because I don't have it. I haven't watched it a dozen plus times.
You just said you watched it like 8 times.
I never said a number. I said I've rewatched it multiple times. I've seen season 1 and 2, I want to say about 3 times.
Yeah. All right. You win this round.
Another tally in the Tommy column.
Someone told me that part of why my Ted Lasso watching is unhealthy is because as soon as it ends, I restart it.
Yeah, that's a big thing. That's a big difference.
I just failed to see the difference, but it's okay. All right, so for those of you that don't know, The Bear is a show about cooking. It's about restaurants and fine dining and also like trauma and grief and anxiety are big themes in the show. And it's got a really awesome cast. Tommy is pulling up the cast list right now.
I don't even need to pull up the cast list.
All right, go ahead.
You got okay, I'm going to do the non-spoiler cast.
Okay, yep.
You got Jeremy Allen White starring as frickin' Carmi Berzatto. You got Ayo Edebiri starring as Sydney. You got Abby Elliott in there. You got Maddie Matheson. You got Oliver Platt. Who else is in there that isn't a spoiler?
The guy that I can't say his name because it's really long and complicated.
Oh, Eben Moss Backrack. You got Eben Moss Backrack in there of Andor fame.
He was in Andor?
Yeah.
Who was he in Andor?
He is part of the team in the heist crew.
Oh.
He's in that group.
I remember that.
And he's in there, and he plays a pretty significant role in that arc. But it's like that's just like the core principal cast. There's a ton of other actors in it who I think saying that they're in it is a bit of a spoiler, but there's a lot of stars in the show who like show up from time to time. But something CJ failed to mention that this show is also about, and maybe most importantly, this is a show about fucking Chicago, baby.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Yeah, it's, as someone from Chicago and the area and spent most of their life here, I've never seen or encountered a piece of media that just so perfectly captures the spirit of the city. And I know a dude whose friend works on production unions in Chicago for like TV shows. And apparently they've worked the set of The Bear, and they said that while they are filming The Bear, they are constantly asking people in the production unions who are like local, how can we make the show more authentic to Chicago? So like there's lots of like little things, it takes place almost entirely downtown in the city. So there's lots of little things, but to me, the thing that is so Chicago about this show is like almost every character in this show is someone who I have met that is just like certifiably Chicago. Like Cicero, Oliver Platt, his character is like straight up like a family member of mine who's from Chicago, who like, Cicero, this isn't really spoiling it, but like there's lots of talk, like even very early on, like, oh, he's connected somehow, like he's involved with organized crime in some way. And just like, I have a family member with that exact same personality and discussions around him, and he kind of looks the same even.
Okay.
It's just, there's so many people in this show. It's just like, oh yeah, no, the showrunner, Christopher Storer, he like grew up hanging out in this beef shop that the show is based on. It's called Mr. Beef in real life. And like, you can tell that it's written by someone with a lot of experience in this city. Cause like the characters are so Chicago.
Okay. They feel very Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know necessarily all the ins and outs of Chicago, but when I see this, I'm like, now that's Chicago.
Right. That's Chicago, baby.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But so you talked a little bit about, I guess, did you have anything specific you wanted to talk about with the show?
My main thing about the show is I feel like I've watched a lot of videos and documentaries and stuff about people cooking and people in the kitchen. And I think that people watch shows like Gordon Ramsay where he's fucking going bananas in the kitchen, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And he's losing his fucking shit. And they're like, oh, that's what it's like in a kitchen, right? And then there's a bunch of people, even Gordon Ramsay himself, outside of those like mainstream moments that are like, that's not what it's always like in a kitchen, right? Like, he goes, you look at somebody in a portrayal of a kitchen on like television or in a movie, they don't look happy. Nobody ever looks happy. And there was just recently a one where it was like, chef reacts to scenes from The Bear, that like those Vanity Fair, GQ, Insider, you know, those types of videos. And he's like, nobody's smiling, you know, nobody's happy. Like, you're supposed to be having fun, right? And it's like, yeah, they address it in the show. But one of the things that stands out to me is like, I think this is meant to be a portrayal of like kitchens and those environments. And I think we've almost come back around. I think that I've never worked in the kitchen, so I don't know. I imagine that there's going to be yelling and there's going to be cursing and there's going to be whatever. If for no other reason, then that's a very fine-tuned machine. That's a Swiss watch you got there. And if you don't do it right, we've all been in a restaurant that doesn't get food out fast enough, right? Like the experience really matters on how fast you get your food and the service that you get and whether or not you want to go back there in the future or whatever. And, you know, I think that it's interesting. It's interesting. And more than anything else, I want to peek behind that curtain. Right? Because I don't know. I have never been back there. Right? I've never been in the kitchen of a restaurant. I've never been allowed to see that. So for me, it's like, oh, this is like a window into something that I haven't seen before in another television show, which is something I really appreciate about it as a concept. I also went into the show only knowing one scene, which is a popular clip that the people put out on TikTok, which is one of the main characters, Richie. This is sort of a spoiler, but not really.
I would say omit any actual detail. I mean, we've already talked about the scene. I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah, Richie brings somebody deep dish pizza.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Then I don't think that's spoiling anything.
No, that's a perfect way to put it.
That's the scene, the only scene that I had seen going into the show. And when you meet Richie for the first time, you're like, this guy is gonna chill the fuck out long enough to be kind to somebody and bring them a pizza? So, in my mind, that intrigued me even more because I wanted to see how he got there. And insofar, that not saying that that's like his character arc, but watching him grow, he has my favorite character arc of anybody on the show at all. Like, bar none, phenomenal.
He has one of the greatest character arcs, period.
Yeah, I would say, like, this is how good it is. As soon as I was done with season 2, I looked up if he won an award for that, and he did. Because I was like, there's no way he didn't.
CJ, you want to know something so funny?
What?
Is before you watched The Bear, I do think you seeing that scene was good for you specifically because I think if you went to watch The Bear without having the context of that scene and where the show leads, you would have hated it. Because you're like, all these people suck. This guy sucks. And I feel like you would have dropped off before there was any growth from the characters.
I hated all of them. Like, I hated all of them. We were talking about Mad Men, funny enough, in the last episode. And I said that it's a show where you hate all the characters. And that you might learn to like them, but you never love them. Because that's not the relationship that you have with them. They're just, they're reprehensible. This show, I think, does it the way that I want these shows to do it. It gives me the thing that I want. The thing that I want is, show me a person and all their flaws. And then let me watch them grow. You know? I don't want to end the show where you're in the same fucking place as you were in the first season. If you're gonna be detestable, grow. And they all do, for the most part. You know, they all move along. Things change. The whole show is about how people process that change, you know?
The show is, I would say, yes, it's about a restaurant and a kitchen, but it's 100% more about these people and their trauma and their pitfalls and them overcoming it through the kitchen and how they learn to apply themselves, learn new skills, stuff like that. It's definitely more focused on, like, you know, that. It's like the character side of it, and then the plot side of it is kind of the kitchen and whatnot, and that moving forward. And side note, can I just put into words something? Like, I was thinking about our discussion about Succession and Mad Men. I've noticed a pattern where you can only, you specifically, CJ, only really like characters if you like them as people.
That's not true.
I've especially when we were talking about Succession, I felt that you have to, in order for you to like a character, you have to like them as a person.
I would counter and say, I have to be able to like someone, and then I can kind of, you know, get behind it.
It's you have to like them not as a character, but as a person. Like, oh, this person has good qualities. Good
I have
traits.
to find someone on the show that I can like as a person.
Okay.
Yes. It doesn't have to be the whole cast, and I think I like characters that are rough around the edges too, but I have to be able to like somebody, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it can't all be crinkly fucking tinfoil. Some of it's got to be clean, you know? There has to be somebody likable in there.
You need that palate cleanse of a good-natured person in there somewhere.
Even if they break bad later, like, I can hang in there with them, you know? Like, I like Butcher from The Boys. He's a great character. He's awful. How I like characters is tied to what they do, right? Because it's like, if you're a shithead, why do I like, you're an asshole? Doesn't mean that you can't, like, be better. Like, that's the other thing, right? Jeremy Allen White's character kind of rides that roller coaster of, like, I like him and then I don't like him anymore. And I don't think that's a spoiler, but, like, he makes decisions and he says things and he does things that, like, change how I feel about him. I feel like that's me really connecting with the show. It's like, if you did that in real life, if you did what he did in the show to me, I wouldn't like you as much, right? Like, that would affect how I feel about you. If you want, like, you know, I try to connect with the show. I think if I don't connect with any of the characters and maybe I have no opinion, that's, like, harder to, you know, it's harder to stay involved, you know, to stay interested. My thing with McCartney is just, like, I just couldn't watch him toward the end. But then the final episode of season 3, he has this moment with another character on the show that you kind of maybe been planting in your brain that this is where it could go, right? Like that final moment that many of us have dreamed about, where we're really going to, like, say to the person who hurt us exactly how they hurt us. And it played out in exactly the way that you wish it didn't play out. And you feel all that grief, like, overflow from his glass. And then I was like, this is really good, right? And all of my other complaints that I have about season 3 and its pacing, it's like, this was really good. Like, it got here. And this is where Carmi needed to be before he can go somewhere else, right? Like, he can't go to the next part until he resolves this. This is stopping him from going on.
Mm.
This has to get off his plate. This has to be cleared in order for him to grow and to move on. So, like, that's sort of where a lot of my appreciation for the show is, man, if you don't have a face in this, if you don't have an expressive face, you can't work in that show. That show has so many tight shots on people's faces. It has so much really, really long scenes of just two characters talking, really tight on their heads, right? Like no body, just all face. And there was one scene in particular involving a guest star who I won't ruin, but I think just by saying that, I think you understand who I'm talking about. And one of the characters in this show, I forget the actress's name. Is it her name Jamie Elliott? Is that her name? What's her name?
Elliott?
Abby Elliott, yeah. She plays Sugar in the show. That scene lasted for fucking ever. That one scene where they're in the room together lasted forever. Like impressively long. I'm not saying it was one shot or anything, but I'm saying that one finite contained scene.
I mean, it was like the whole episode.
It was almost the whole episode.
And it was one of the longer episodes that season. It was like a 45-minute episode or so.
And I think that there are some issues that, like, not every show could do that. That is a technical achievement, first of all. But second of all, there are very few shows, if you think about it, that could maintain that momentum for that long. And in some places, I feel like that episode does sag a little bit. Just because it's the weight of itself. It's the weight of itself on top of itself. Like, what it's trying to do is so heavy to maintain someone's interest when you're in a room by yourself, not moving, not doing something. Like, you don't realize how much business is going on when an actor's on, like, a sitcom.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's not just the actor comes in and says the line, like, what is he doing there? He's got to go in the fridge. He's got to get an apple. He's going to walk over and look at the magazine. He's on his cell phone. He's doing something. But it's not. It's not in this scene. This scene is actress and actress in a room physically next to each other, like touching, like they're in hugging distance. It's a tight scene, and it like I said, I think sometimes it sags a little bit because it's hard to maintain that interest, but it's like 30 minutes of it's that.
Longer. It's longer than that even.
Yeah.
That episode has, you were talking about like things like that sometimes losing steam. That episode definitely has a bit of a cheat code for like immediately being able to rack it up tension in any given moment, which helps.
That is one of the only ways you could get away with it. Right? It's like, it is the Alfred Hitchcock bomb under the table, right?
I'm not sure I'm familiar.
Fuck you.
Here, before we go any further, do you have anything, I guess, more spoiler pointed you wanted to get into?
No, I don't think there's any spoiler pointy. I feel like I haven't let you talk.
I'll just keep things general. I think we can probably fully avoid and dodge spoiler talk then.
Yeah, I think so.
I think that this show, everything I said earlier, like it's a messy show in that the characters they feel so real, and the show is about their journeys. It's not like for example, Ted Lasso, right? Rebecca Welton, Hannah Waddingham's character. Season 1, she starts off, she's wronged by her ex. She wants revenge. And she's, spoilers for where a character like goes to by the end of season 1 of Ted Lasso. But by the end of season 1 of Ted Lasso, she's like, quote, good. Right? Mm-hmm. And the thing I love about The Bear is the characters, they might take 2 steps forward, but then they'll take a step. Like, there's a lot of regression, and it's just like, especially as someone who has like, traumatic experiences that might have Venn diagram overlap with some of these characters. It just feels so real. The characters and their journeys and the way things are, like the way things trigger them and the way they will slip up or let stuff out. It's not clean and tidy. Like, these characters have baggage, and it's just so well done. So well done and so engaging. And like, I mean, there's that one episode in season 2 that's like a semi flashback, which is like masterclass at learning why a handful of these characters are who they are.
Yeah.
And it's just really well done. And another thing I love about the show is, like, on the cooking front, like, it's a very ritualistic show. Like, Carmy, Jeremy Allen White's character, very early on, like, he's trying to renovate this restaurant, turn it around, and he's like the best chef in the world, but this place is a bit of a pigsty, and he's like just trying to instill little things. Like, when we label stuff with tape, we cut the edges of the tape. It's about like those. His quote is like, one character, Marcus, is like, why do we cut the tape? And Carmy goes, it's about consistency and being consistent. And it's just like, what a horrible answer. But like, the show has so much of these, like, you know, it's all about doing all the small details and building this routine, even if it's seemingly meaningless, like having clean edges on your tape. It's all building towards something. And it's just like, you know, they show up so early in the morning to prep for the day, or show up on Sunday to prep for the weekend. They're always doing things like that are ritual to them, and it's just very a comforting show to me in that way.
Right. I don't know if that I find it comforting, but as like a general feeling, but I hear what you're saying. I could definitely see how you'd feel that.
But I do have one important question for you though, CJ.
Yep.
Could you do a bear?
Okay, this is important. I could not do a Carmy bear.
Wow.
I couldn't do it, but could I do Richie? 100%.
You're telling me that in season 1, episode 1, you're going to get out a gun and fire it into the air?
Yeah. Me who despises guns, I could do it. That's my hardest challenge. I got it.
Wow. A bit of humility here in the Okie Dokie Studios for once.
I know. I could not. No, I couldn't even do a Carmy.
Wow.
Not even. I have no illusions that I could, but I could definitely become Richie.
Wow. I was gonna say, if you were gonna say, "Oh yeah, I could turn a restaurant around," I was be like, "Okay, how? I need to know." Restaurants are like razor thin margins, like 2 or 3% margins in the out. Like, wow. So you could do a Richie, but
I could do Richie. Yep, that's it.
I would say, considering the fact that Carmy's the main character, that is a verifiable no on the could you do it.
It is a no. I feel like I could do a Richie or maybe a Maddie Madison.
Oh, I love Maddie Matheson.
Yeah, maybe a...
Whoa. I'm going to frickin' censor that you said that. That's a spoiler that they are in this show.
All right. So there you go. There's an actor who shows up who you're not going to expect, and you couldn't have seen it coming.
Nope. Perfect.
Yep.
Speaking of seeing something, what are we seeing today, CJ?
The Birdcage.
Yeah,
that's right. I thought this was another one of your questions that was setting me up for failure. I had to pause.
No. I never set you up for failure.
You have several times today, and it's fine.
Never.
All right. The Birdcage. So this is, for those of you that don't know, this is a 1996 American comedy film. It is an adaptation of a French film from the 70s called La Cage aux Folles. I said that really wrong. I don't care. It stars, just to name off the top of the billing, Robin Williams, Nathan Lane, Gene Hackman, and Diane Wiest. It also has Hank Azaria playing a very funny character, and it has Dan Futterman and Callista Flockhart in there as well. So it is an Academy Award nominated film.
What was it nominated for?
Best Art Direction. It is also one of the most prominent examples of early LGBTQ characters in like a major production. The general premise of the movie, like the one sentence synopsis of the movie, is that the son of a gay couple is set to marry the daughter of a very conservative couple. And he is bringing his fiancée to be and her parents to the Birdcage, which is a sort of an openly gay-owned drag club.
I'm going to be honest, I'm already so lost and confused.
It's okay. You don't have to be confused because you're going to see the movie.
Whew.
I'm going to actually tell you something. I have not seen this movie in its entirety before.
Whoa, really?
I have only seen the highlights and the clips, and I've walked in when it's been on, but I've never seen the whole thing in its entirety.
Okay.
So this will be exciting for me as well.
Wow. Well, I hope we like it.
I think we're going to like it. It's a pretty funny movie. Yeah, do you have any questions about this movie going in?
What was the budget?
The budget? $31 million. It grossed $185 million.
What other questions might I have? Who is the best boy?
The guy who plays the National Enquirer photographer.
What?
I don't know.
No, I don't have any questions other than those. Thank you for answering those. I've never seen this movie, of course. Never had even heard of this movie before this summer when it was brought up in conversation with Jade, and like one of her brothers really loves this movie. I think like her brother and her dad were talking about it. So I'm wholly unaware of it. I know Robin Williams is in it.
Yeah.
Timon is in it.
Timon, yeah.
That's about all.
Fun fact. So you're going to see this movie. Nope. I'm not going to say that. I'm going to save that for the end.
All
I'm going to
right.
save it for the post show.
All right.
All right. I thought you were sorry.
No.
For a second, I thought you were gonna.
No, go. You go.
Oh, okay, me.
Yeah.
All right, everyone.
All right, everyone.
Fuck you. Now you're gonna fucking do it.
All right, everyone. Thank you for listening to the pre-show. As always, if you'd like to listen to the commentary track with us, then you can find the link to that in the show notes. But otherwise, you can keep on listening. But if you would like to pause and watch the movie with us, pause it right now.
You motherfucker.
I'm so funny.
Yeah. That guy does not look like he goes to a drag show.
That's exactly what I was about to say. I was saying I would never peg a man of that demographic to be at a drag show.
Well, listen, he doesn't peg either, so.
Oh, what did you mean by that?
Michael Kidd, Michael Kidd, Michael Kidd, Michael Kidd, or Madonna, Madonna, Madonna. But you keep it all inside.
You keep it all inside. I've laughed more this time than I did during Wild Wild West.
Man, maybe we were wrong. Maybe we should reevaluate Wild Wild West.
Fuck you.
A lot more.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Film is Okie Dokie. I'm still CJ. He's still Tommy. I don't know why we reintroduce ourselves, because for the people listening, it has been no time at all.
Next week, when I'm bringing us back in after the break, I reintroduce us, shoot me, CJ.
Okay. In the head, or?
I'll let you pick.
So it is. All right. So, if you listen to the Audio Companion podcast, thank you for that. We have a lot of fun doing those, so we want to hear your feedback. So let us know what you think about the ones that you've listened to so far. If I sound slightly different, it is because I am battling a cold.
It's because CJ got replaced between when we recorded the pregame and this.
Wasn't there a thing where people thought Paul McCartney got replaced?
Yeah, because they buried Paul.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Well, that's interesting. Any Hoosers, Tommy, in the outstretched hands before you are two choices. We're going to get to both, but I'm going to let you pick the order. Height?
Height. Let's do height first.
Okay. Damn. You're like in a real hurry today. He was hurrying me before we started recording. He was hurrying me before the recordings, before we got into the podcast.
Well, CJ, have I told you what I've got going on after we record today?
No.
Oh, well, I got nothing going on after.
You motherfucker. All right, so I have a lot of travel coming up
And I'm actually fine saying where I'm going because by the time this comes out, I'll have already gone to all those places. I am going to Las Vegas. I am going to New Hampshire. I'm going to maybe Nolens. I'm going to Pittsburgh. And I might be going to Chicago.
Whoa.
All within the next, 6 months. Okay?
Whoa.
I know. So, that's a lot of flying for me. I don't usually like to fly anymore these days. I like driving if I can. But that basically region locks you to a pretty small area of the country when you are where I am, which is the Northeast. So, I was like, I have to fly. The Las Vegas trip is a work trip, so it's like, you have to fly. So, I did look at driving, by the way. If I could have made it work, I would have made it work. It would have taken me 4 days. I can comfortably do about 10 hours a day, but I would have to work. So I could do 8 hours a day, then work in a hotel, and it just didn't. It just didn't make sense. I'd have to work in a coffee shop, and I was looking into it. It just didn't make sense. So I had to fly, and as part of that, I was like, well, I'm going to be doing so much flying. Why don't I look into getting TSA pre-check now? If you don't know what TSA pre-check is, it's basically you get to keep your shoes on and your belt on, and you get to go through a special line through TSA security. Basically, they vet you ahead of time so they don't have to grab your dick, okay? And I don't know what the dick grab really accomplishes, because I think most studies reveal that TSA is actually not really good at their job. But, yeah, it's fine. So, back in my day, the first time that I had it, you literally just paid online. You filled out a form, and you paid online, and you had it. Now you have to go and do, an interview, and you have to have all this documentation and stuff. And the nearest center to me is, 50 miles away, and it's just a big pain in the ass. So I was thinking about doing it, and then I'm like, all right, let's just go through, the initial preliminary round. One of the things they needed was a copy of my birth certificate. Have you ever, tried to fill out a form online, and it's very clearly a problem with the form that is preventing you from filling it out?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I ran into that all the time doing job applications, where it's your salary range must be a number. It's it is. Oh, I'm sorry. When you said range, you meant a single number, right? Okay, just making sure. Or, no, you can't put a $sign, right? So, I was getting all these errors. It would not accept my birth certificate because it said that the height was wrong. So I'm like, the height is wrong. You go in, and I get to a point where I can talk to a person. This isn't done through the government. This is they have vendors that do this now. So I talk to a person, and everyone's like, talking to a person's better. Yes and no. Talking to a person, if you can get a person-oriented solution, is great. A human-oriented solution is always better than a computer-oriented solution, because sometimes you can do something via voice that takes so much longer via computer, right? There's some forms of communication that are just better for this. So I'm thinking, I'm going to explain to this human being that my height not matching my birth certificate is a mistake, right? But the problem is, if you offshore your support and you only empower them to say and do what the form can say and do, you've made a much worse situation. You've created human beings that have none of the human element to them. You've created, cold blankets. A human being talking to you on the phone is like a warm blanket. You've made cold blankets. This is terrible. Because the person I got on the phone was like, yes. So here's the thing. Your birth certificate doesn't match the height on your license. And I said, yeah. And he's like, well, that's the problem. That's why you can't submit it. I said, I wasn't born 6 feet tall.
Yeah.
How would anybody know that? Why would my birth certificate say my height on it? It also doesn't say my weight. Neither does my driver's license, for a fact. My driver's license doesn't have my weight on it. It's just I was so mad. I was like, what do you mean? And he was just very steadfast. I understand what you're saying, but that's why we can't accept it. Because your height doesn't match what's on. I'm like, nobody's height. That's not a thing. Nobody's height.
Excuse me. It says here you're 20 inches tall, but you put down 6 feet. Could you clear that up for me?
Yeah.
This doesn't-
Yes, sir. I'm sorry, but you put 20 inches on your birth certificate, but here it says, 72. So which one is it? It's like,
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry, but if you're 20 inches tall, you clearly can't drive. We can't hire you.
yeah, it's like, what are you talking about? I was so mad. So that was like, while I was like trying to work and I had you on while you were streaming, I was dealing with that on the phone. And I was just so annoyed.
There's your issue.
What's that?
That you were watching me at the same time.
Yeah, that's it's your fault.
That's your issue.
Yeah,
That was your first mistake, CJ.
it was your fault. I had many mistakes yesterday. Also happened yesterday.
Let's go through all of them.
Okay, so I've been sick and I've been kind of semi-quarantining. I woke up with a really bad sore throat. It was like the worst sore throat I've ever had. It burned. It really hurt. Like I've had painful sore throats, but not like actively painful. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it woke me up in the middle of the night, and then it kind of turned into this cold thing, and now it's like I'm just coughing up like crap. And it's just like, it's like a standard sticky cold that doesn't want to go away, so you do everything that you can and you just, whatever, it is what it is. So I was like, you know what? Let's just go and I just want to get out of the house. I'm going to go to Wendy's, get my car. I'm going to drive through to Wendy's. Well, I got about halfway.
Wait. You like Wendy's?
Yes. Why?
You like Wendy's nut slap against your forehead? Woo! Yes!
Pausing for comedic effect.
Yes! All right, sorry, continue.
Are you proud of yourself?
Oh, of course.
May I continue?
Yeah, no, by all means, continue.
Mm-hmm. So I'm traveling to that restaurant that I mentioned before, and about halfway, I had that really awful feeling when you just feel your stomach shift, and then all of a sudden nature is making a collect call and you don't have call waiting.
Mm-hmm.
Like knocking on heaven's gate. And I was like, oh, okay. So I'm on the same road as the restaurant, and I'm like, well, I've come this far. I'm just gonna try and go for it. So I pull in, and I was gonna do the drive-thru anyway, but the lobby's closed. This is gonna be relevant. So the lobby's closed, and I'm like, okay, I can make it. There's one car in the drive-thru. I get in.
Wait, what time of day was this at?
8 o'clock.
Okay.
7:30, 8 o'clock. It was like 7:30 because I came home in time to watch the game Monday night.
Okay.
So ultimately what ends up happening is it takes them about 15 minutes just to talk to me. I don't know why the service at this particular fast food establishment is slow. Like, it's very specific to this one in my town. Like, other ones have, like, very specific, like, oh, you have to do it in this amount of time, and if you don't, you get coupons, or you get pulled ahead, or you get make goods. This place doesn't do that. They don't care how fucking long it takes. You are here. You are going to get your food. It's going to be hot. You're going to wait as long as we tell you to wait. And I think part of it is because Wendy's has that fresh fry guarantee thing, so every food has to be fired fresh. Like, the food tastes good from there. It's probably my favorite fast food place in town, just in terms of, like, the quality of the food, if you can call it food. But it took like 15 minutes, and I was the only other car there. So I turn out of the parking lot, and my stomach is really starting to bother me. So I'm going to give you a visual, okay? Imagine a column.
Do I want this visual?
No, it's a map of the road.
Okay.
So you're going to imagine a column, right? That's the road.
Okay.
At the base of the column, on the right side of the column, that's where Wendy's is, okay?
Okay.
The fastest way home is to make a right out of the parking lot and go up the column, okay? Up the road. You with me so far?
Yeah, I actually pulled up my MS Paint, and I'm drawing this out to follow along.
About halfway up the column, it's a T intersection, okay?
Okay. Drawing the intersection. Okay.
You don't need to know what's to the left, but to the right is an access road. That access road will take you to the mall, which is its own parking lot. But before it takes you to the mall, there's another access road, which you can see all of this. There's not like it's a long road. We're talking like these are like little tiny connecting roads to big parking lots. But between the road that I'm on, the column, and the mall is a hotel. So that's the lay of the land, okay? So we have the column, the T intersection. To go home, I would usually go straight, go around the back of the mall, and then take the back road home. I get to the T intersection, it's a red light. I decide I can't wait anymore, so I'm going to go to the mall. Someone said, well, why would you go to the mall? Malls aren't known for having, like, particularly accessible bathrooms. And this is true. This is also a dying mall. But we have an anchor store, which is a Target. And Target has bathrooms right in the front of the store. And that is the literally closest store to me from the road. You can see the big Target sign from the road. You have to pass Target to go to anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, great, I'm going to park at Target, get in there, go to the bathroom, go home, right? Well, I get halfway down the access road, I can't make it. And it's not a long road. So I just whip it into the it's not a Holiday Inn, but I'll call it a Holiday Inn. I just whip it right into the Holiday Inn parking lot. When I was doing DoorDash when I was unemployed, I went there one time and delivered coffee, and they had redone the lobby. And two of the things that they had added what do you call it? Key cards to the bathrooms in the lobby, so that basically for hotel guests only or something, right? So I pull in there, I go to the front desk, and I'm like, hey, can I use your bathroom? She said, no, bathrooms only for paying customers. And I said, okay, I would like to get a room. And she says, okay. And so she's taking her sweet ass time. Meanwhile, like, the walls of Jericho are closing in on me. And I'm like, And I'm like, can I go to the bathroom and then we can finish? She goes, no, that's not how this works. If you want to use the bathroom, you have to book a room. So I'm like, okay. So then she's like, can I see your ID? And I realized I left my phone in the car. I left the car running. And she's like, and how long will you be staying? I said, just one night. So then this is going on. I hear a door. I look behind me and I see somebody coming out of the bathroom. So I trot over there before the door swings shut, and I use the bathroom. And it was an emergency. It was a close call. It's not the closest call that I've had in my adult lifetime to an incident. I've been fortunate not to have an incident of that nature in my adult lifetime.
Buddy, you ain't living then.
I know. I'm not living close enough to the edge. So I get out of the bathroom. The woman who was helping me is there. She's got, like, the radio. And there's a man in a suit who I assumed was security, and they asked me to leave. And I said, I'm sorry, I will gladly now pay for a room. And she said, no, that's not how this works. You have to leave now. And I was escorted out of the hotel. And I say all this to say, I'm pretty sure that I'm banned from that hotel.
Okay, so we have another place added to the list that you're banned from.
Yes, I am now banned from this Marriott.
I thought it was a Holiday Inn.
No, I said it wasn't a Holiday Inn, but I didn't want to go back and correct myself.
So when you left the bathroom, were there any other words said other than I'll pay now and her saying that isn't how this works?
I was like, I'm sorry. I really had to go. I'll gladly pay for a room now.
Yeah.
And then she said, no, that's not how this works, sir.
Yeah.
And then he was like, I need you to come with me. And he escorted me out.
That was the extent of the interaction?
That is, as far as I remember, the full extent of the interaction.
Okay. So I got some questions, CJ.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So this Wendy's.
Really quick, was I reasonable or unreasonable about the birth certificate thing?
Oh, about the birth certificate thing?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's frustrating as hell. Them expecting you to be 20 inches tall, and it's just bureaucracy.
What am I, Vern Troyer?
Dragging its heels. So,
yeah. All right. Now go ahead.
Where were you at before you went to Wendy's? I should ask.
My house.
Okay. How far is Wendy's?
Wendy's is about a 10-minute drive the way that I went, and the time of the day that I went.
Okay. So you started driving to Wendy's.
Uh-huh.
And it was on your way there that you're like, fuck.
Halfway.
I gotta shit myself. You were halfway to Wendy's when you said, fuck, I gotta shit myself.
I'm not gonna shit myself. I said, uh-oh, this is not good. The thing is what I actually said. So I was more than halfway. I was at the top of the column when it hit me. Okay. So I was turning onto the top of the column to go down through the T and make the left on into Wendy's.
Okay.
I'm sure this lovely art will be.
I just sent you the art.
Yeah, basically, if you just extended the columns up a little higher, you'd be dead on.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess this is what I wanna. So you halfway to Wendy's, 5 minutes to Wendy's, 5 minutes from home, got the urge to be like, I gotta empty my colon, right?
Something like that, yeah.
And you planned to just go inside at the Wendy's, right?
My plan was, this isn't going to take that long. I'll just get out of town.
But you said this Wendy's always takes like their sweet ass time.
They usually take their sweet ass time because there's a line.
Okay.
There was no line. I didn't expect to wait 15 minutes for no reason. When I pulled up and saw there was no line, I had hope, misplaced hope.
I'm surprised that you decided to go shit in the Wendy's when you were that close to home, if I'm being honest.
The Wendy's or the hotel?
Both, honestly. Like, I'm just talking about the first hurdle. I was going to say, why would you go to the Wendy's knowing it's going to take a while, because they always take a while? And not just turn around and go shit at home.
Because I felt like I was already there, and if I felt like I turned around to go to the bathroom, I wasn't going to go back out to eat, and I don't have anything to make at home because I'm kind of between shopping trips right now. And I felt like, it's going to sound stupid, I felt like me eating a frozen pizza that late at night was just going to make me wake up with a stomach ache in the middle of the night, so I didn't want to go for it. So that's the explanation for why I didn't want to turn back. Plus, I was really close. Like, proximity to the Wendy's is important. The other thing, I didn't really intend to go to the bathroom at the Wendy's, but I mentioned that the lobby was closed to illustrate the fact that I just couldn't.
Right. So you were willing to pay, like, I'm going to assume on the cheap end, like $100 just to not shit yourself or shit 10 minutes sooner.
Like, I'm not saying this was a convenience thing. It was $156 for one night.
So you were willing to pay $156 to use the lobby bathroom at the hotel.
As opposed to shitting my pants? Yes, I was willing to do that.
As opposed to getting back in your car and driving 3 minutes to the Target and using their bathroom?
It would not have been 3 minutes. It probably would have been about a minute, but I would have had to park the car.
And you thought that checking into a hotel would be a faster procedure?
Okay, I think that we are really dissecting the decisions that I made under duress. I made bad decisions under duress.
Okay.
I admit that. Okay, so what would you have done differently? You would have turned back around before you even got to Wendy's.
Yeah, ideally.
Okay.
Like, would
you honestly, not for humor, genuine question.
Yeah.
Would you have then gone back out to the Wendy's?
If I really fucking wanted Wendy's, yeah.
Okay, so you see,
and I didn't have food.
So I sent you the map. We're not going to share the map, but you see where the Target is.
Yeah.
You see where the one hotel is to the left. That's the one I'm not welcome in. I was at the top of the road on the right.
Yeah.
I don't know why it says this is like has a median. There's no median on that road. The map says there's like a median. But anyway, so I was there. It's like I could see the fucking thing. It's like, am I really going to turn around and go home? Like, it just didn't make sense.
I'm at a loss for words, CJ.
It was an emergency.
When I go for runs.
Are you criticizing? Okay, I just want to be clear. You're criticizing me for the whole thing? Like, what is your criticism?
My criticism is the decision to not go back home. And my criticism is the fact you were willing to pay $156 as opposed to getting back in your car and driving 1 minute to Target.
At that point, there was no choice. At that point, when she literally has me by the short ones, there's no chance. I didn't think I would make it back to my car. I'm not talking like, oh, this sucks. I wish I could just find a bathroom. No, this is like 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Like, we're on the countdown now. Okay. And it's not like I'm going to drop a fruit in my loom. This was going to be the unleashing of the floodgates. Okay?
Yeah.
So this wasn't going to be like whose dog pooped in the lobby. This is going to be like who spilled coffee. I felt like I had no other choice.
What did you get from Wendy's?
Oh, I got a Baconator meal.
Okay.
And I got a double stack with no pickles. It unraveled very quickly for me, and I'm not ashamed to admit that.
Well, CJ, why weren't you wearing your diapers?
No, we're not. No.
CJ,
No.
come on.
I'm like
After all the times I helped you put on your diapers at GDQ, you abandoned them now?
You're making me retch. Stop it. Oh my god. Okay. What else is on the list of things to talk about today?
Oh, just a little movie called The Frickin' Birdcage.
Whoop 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 whoop. Yeah.
Oh, so that's how you feel about it, huh?
I like it.
Yeah?
Yeah, what did you think?
Well, let me hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so here's the thing. I love this movie, and I think that one of the things that it does really well, and one of the reasons it really resonates with me, is it holds a mirror up to an aspect of society at a time, especially at a time where, and maybe this is harder for people to kind of really understand now, in the mid-90s, it wasn't exactly like we were just really open arms welcoming towards the LGBTQIA plus community. And so this is the forefront of queer. This is probably the biggest mainstream example at any point by a major studio to ever make something like this. And literally talk about what it had to... I don't know where the funding for this came from, and I'm not going to pretend to know. But this isn't some small art house movie. This is Robin Williams, Nathan Lane, Diane Wiest, and Gene Hackman in one movie. That's what it takes to make a movie about gay nightclub owners doing a farce of a dinner party. I love that part of it, and it holds up the mirror to like how ridiculous Gene Hackman's character is, and how he's supposed to be like he's supposed to be the joke, right? He's supposed to be the radical, crazy asshole that nobody jives with. He's supposed to be the what do you call it? The caricature. He doesn't even seem that crazy now, which is sad. But like he's supposed to be like the antithesis, right? There's this supposed to be the uncomfortable, the pairing, right? But what I really love is just this is the first time that I remember seeing an honest movie about gay characters, an honest interpretation, and it never laughs at them. Think about other gay presentation in mainstream film and TV. They're the joke, right? They're the punchline. And at no point are Robin Williams and Nathan Lane the punchline. You're not laughing at them, you're laughing with them the whole time. They're the spirit of comedy, but they're not the result of it, right? They're like, what they're doing is funny, they themselves are not the joke. And I love that. So, for all those reasons that I just gave and more, and maybe I just went a little too deep into my analysis than I wanted to, but all those reasons and more, that's why I love this movie. And on top of it all, it manages to do all those things and be really funny at the same time. Like Hank Azaria's character, I don't think was one character in the script. I think he just basically absorbed all of the servant roles and just became like the funny servant with all the lines. Because I love that character. That's the funniest character in the movie is Hank Azaria. So yeah, that's what I think. What do you think?
If I'm being honest, I'm not too sure how I feel about this movie.
Wow.
And I think whether or not I say it's okie dokie depends on how these conversations go and how they make me feel about the movie.
Wow.
I'm truly really on the fence because it's, a lot like all of what you said about the representation in the movie is true, right? The only thing is I'm not sure this movie, it has funny parts, but I didn't think it was overly funny, and I felt that the plot itself took a while to get going. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I just didn't really vibe with the actual story of this movie, which we'll get into, of course, but
if I was going to say something that I felt like was a detractor, but maybe was necessary as a necessary evil for like the framing of the story, it's how much it feels like the son, Val, wants to be accepted by the parents of the fiance versus like just being like, hey, you know, my parents are a gay couple that own a drag club in Miami and they're Jewish, right? Like, maybe that's the uncomfortable part. It's like, no, you have to hide what you are. Maybe that's... And so, I can definitely see what you're saying about the story. Because,
but
it
the
takes
thing
a minute
for
to...
me, though, is it's more than just the kid. It's
No, I know.
It's Robin Williams' character as well. I didn't really...
Wow.
Yeah, I felt he was pretty in a similar vein, and same with Val's fiance.
No, I can see that. The kids in the show.
Oh my god, I can't wait to talk shit about them later.
No, I don't like the kids. But I was gonna say, to your other point about the story taking a while to spin up, I do agree about that. Part of it, I think, is just it's a very simple concept, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna put these four people that should not be in a room together. We're gonna put them in a room together and let comedy happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's a 30-minute movie. That's a short film. You know, so you have to do a lot of framing and dressing. You have to dress it up a lot. So
I think it could be longer than that though, because I feel like there's parts of that portion. First off, we don't get to that part of the movie until we're like 2/3 of the way through.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I feel like even if like you trim down on that front part, like this movie's just under 2 hours. I think it could probably be closer to 90 minutes.
It could.
And I feel like there's not a whole lot of actual resolution to that plot line at the end.
Oh no, there's no resolution. No. So I agree with all your points.
Yeah, so those are my main sticking point. Like that's what's like is really holding the movie back from, you know, me fucking with it, like being like,
okay.
Oh yeah, this is good.
Okay. I think this is actually going to be interesting. I don't know that you and I have had a genuine disagreement.
Well, hold on. I'm
you have the
if
record books.
I do have the record books, yeah.
Okay. Hey, listen, this is really interesting. So, okay, Stat Boy.
Yeah.
Sorry, hang on. It's not you that has the record books. It's our Stat Boy, Tumido.
Tumidio,
yeah.
Get in here.
Tumidio, yes.
Okay, he is holding up the records book in front of my face. I am looking at it. He's pointing. Yes, so we have disagreed on one movie before.
Was it Chicken Run?
It was Chicken Run.
Okay, can I be honest? I don't even really feel like... I feel like the deviation on Chicken Run for us was... I feel like you were closer to the center and I was... whatever, but I think we're both going to be farther. It sounds like we might end up being farther apart on this than we were on Chicken Run.
Well, we will see. Like I said, I'm really in the air, and I feel like I could land on either side of it, and I do think it's going to really depend on know, how maybe things I realized during this conversation.
Okay, so let's talk about the plot of the movie. So for those of you that didn't listen to the companion audio track that have never seen the movie, here's a good enough summary of the movie. I feel like I want to get this as quickly as done as possible because I feel like sometimes these go on for a while, but we're going to try, okay?
Plus, this movie, like CJ said, there's a lot of framing, and it's a lot of like, you know, we have a conversation in one scene, then a conversation in the next one, and a conversation in the next one. It's just like kind of one plot point has gone through because, you know, it very much is a comedy. We're not... You know, it's a family drama comedy, so there is a bit of like drama to it and whatnot. But you know, some scenes just kind of serve as like moments to just progress the plot a little bit, but mostly serve as a set for us to have some comedy in. Yeah.
So we have Armand Goldman, played by the incomparable Robin Williams. And we open the movie with this kind of sweeping shot over the bay or the ocean coming in on Miami, and it zooms in on the Birdcage nightclub. where they are doing a musical rendition of Sister Sledge's, what is that? We Are Family is the name of the song.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a drag show. It's supposed to be this moment where if you don't know what you've paid to see, you think that they're female and not female impersonators. And that's supposed to be a sight gag. And then there's this whole action tension going on. Where's Starina? Where's Starina? Starina is actually Armand. I'm just going to say the actors' names once I say the characters' names once, and I apologize. Robin Williams' partner is the star of the show. Albert Goldman is Nathan Lane. And Nathan Lane refuses to come out, and their openly gay, very flamboyant Guatemalan housekeeper, Agador Spartacus, played by Hank Azaria, who is, again, phenomenal. They can't get Starina out of bed, and then basically they coax her out of bed by saying they're going to put somebody else on. Starina goes down and does the final number, but before Nathan Lane leaves, he accuses Robin Williams of cheating on him with another man because he finds white wine in the fridge and the both of them only drink red. It turns out that there is somebody coming to see Robin Williams while Nathan Lane is on stage. It's a young man who is actually his son, Armand's son, Val. Val is in college. He comes back to visit his dad. He was raised by Robin and Nathan, and Robin Williams had a drunken one-night stand with a woman named Catherine, who he has never met, ever, in his entire life. And he comes back home, and he says, "Hey, Dad, I'm getting married. I met a young woman at college. I want to get married to her. I need your blessing." And then there's this kind of like thing where Robin Williams is like, "No," and then basically, he's like, "Yes." Even though Val is too young, he's like, "Yeah, whatever, love, whatever." And it's, of course, a heterosexual thing, which is a funny moment in a few scenes in the show. But it turns out that the woman that Val is interested in, we're going to brush this aside, but I'm going to mention it because Tommy's going to mention it. They basically have a line in this where they explain that the girl is underage, that basically if the timeline is correct, he's 20 and she's 17, or 18 and she's 16. It's not a pretty.
Oh, we'll get into the math.
We'll get into it. We'll get into the math. I know you did it. You brought it up a few times. Mm-hmm. So I'm just mentioning it now, but I'm not going to focus on it anymore, okay?
Well, hold on. I kept bringing it up in the movie because it's not like this is just like an in-passing thing.
No, they bring it up.
They bring it
but
up.
I wasn't going to bring it up anymore. Okay.
Oh, it was so funny.
All right, so turns out that Barbara's parents, which is the name of the girl that he wants to marry,
Babs,
are actually the ultra-conservative Republican Senator Kevin Keeley, played by Gene Hackman, who is the co-founder of the conservative group called the Moral Order Coalition or something like that.
Yeah, something to that effect.
And his wife, Louise, who's played by Diane Wiest. Okay? Basically, he's like, "No, you're not going to get married. You're too young. I have an election. You have to think about other people other than yourself, blah, blah, blah." But then it is revealed that the person he co-founded the Coalition of Moral Order with was found dead in bed of an underage black sex worker. And so it's like, oh, okay, an infidelity with a minor and a minority. So basically, she uses this moment to be like, "Hey, let's get out of the way. Let's get out of here." And the wife is like, "A big wedding of America's favorite daughter would really go a long way in cleaning up our image." So basically, they're like, "Okay, we're gonna sneak out of here." There's a few scenes where they're in the house trying to sneak out. They're in like DC or something. Basically, there's a funny scene where Gene Hackman is doing an interview on a ladder, which I think is really funny because I think the idea of doing a press conference while you're on a ladder and you're turned around looking over your shoulder is funny as a premise. But they basically then get in the car and they start driving to Miami. So then here's the deal. Obviously, the ultra-conservative senator is not going to, who already doesn't want his daughter to get married because it'll affect his political campaign, is not going to go for this kid whose parents are a gay couple who own a nightclub. okay? A drag club in Miami, and they're Jewish. So basically, the plan is Val asks his dad to pose as a straight man, and he asks if they can get his birth mother, Catherine, to come along and pretend to be his real mother while they basically send Nathan Lane out of town. And Catherine is played by Christine Baranski. I remember her. She is the woman that, I think she's Leonard's mother on The Big Bang Theory. Any Hoosers. So they're like, okay, they lied and said that his name is Coleman. They lied and said that they're not Jewish, that he's a cultural attaché to Greece. And, you know, the parents are like, well, Armand is like, Robin Williams' character is like, well, I'm not a fan of this. Like, this is stupid, but you're my son and I love you and you want to be happy, so I'll do it for a night. They ungay their house, which is the nicest way I can say it. There's tons of sculptures of dicks and all this phallic stuff. They have lots of just over-the-top things. They replace it with, like, a moose head and all these crucifixes, and they, like, whatever. They tell Nathan Lane the plan, and Nathan Lane goes into hysterics. There's a scene where they're like, maybe we can have you pretend not to be a gay man. Maybe we can have you be our straight uncle. So there's a lot of scenes of trying to get Nathan. I think this whole second act in Miami is basically the gag of, can we get this really over-the-top, effeminate man to act like John Wayne? Literally, at one point they say that. And the answer is no, they fail. So they're like, well, you know, we're not going to be able to fool anybody into thinking you're straight. Can you just go out of town while my mother comes, and then we'll have my mother and Armand. And it's very clear throughout the whole thing, like, the son really is really acting ashamed and, like, whatever. It's just kind of, it's very much in the tone of that. Like, the son kind of is, like, upset about it. And I'm not mentioning Agador. He's really not relevant to the plot, which is funny. He's just kind of in a lot of scenes. So basically, finally they arrive. There's a whole scene where they go, and Robin Williams is dancing with Catherine, and there's the whole thing, and Nathan Lane finds out, and then he's upset, and then he keeps saying he's gonna go. They sign a palimony agreement, and that shores up the relationship. Nathan Lane comes out of the closet, trying to be straight, realizes he can't do it. They lock Nathan Lane up in the bedroom. But then, so the Keeleys arrive, and the house is straightened up. Agador is wearing shoes, which he can't wear, because every time he tries to walk, he falls, which is kind of funny. And Agador is also cooking the dinner, and they don't have, like, they're sitting in, like, a bunch of, like, really tall, high-back dining room chairs at a coffee table, and Catherine doesn't show up. So, while this is all happening, the driver for the senator basically called the Inquirer and told them that they were in Miami. So while this is going on, there's a lot of press outside that are kind of gathering together. And this is going to be important for an important part of the plot here in a second. Well, Catherine gets stuck in traffic. So they're like, oh, where's Mrs. Keeley? And then all of a sudden, Albert enters dressed as a conservative middle-aged woman. And now he's pretending to be Catherine, the mother, even though Gene Hackman and Diane Wiest are completely fooled. So the evening starts going well. Gene Hackman is in love with Nathan Lane, which is amazing. And then the tabloid journalists arrive. They're trying to get in. They're trying to get the scoop. They're trying to, like, follow up on this. They followed them to South Beach. And Armand says, okay, this is working. So go ahead, Val, and on the door, leave a note for your mother so she knows not to come in. So they go down and they put the note on the door. The tabloid people take the note off the door, okay? So now there's no note saying, hey, this is whatever. They realize there's a problem with the food. There's a problem with Nathan Lane's wig. So all of them leave. They leave Gene Hackman and Agador and Diane Wiest alone. And that's when the real Catherine shows up. And now there's two... Oh, sorry, the dinner was in between there. They have a dinner. There's guys fucking in the bowls. There's a really funny scene, my favorite scene in the movie.
Do you want to give a little more context what you mean by that? There's guys fucking in the bowls.
Imagine Greek bowls where people paint shit on the bowls, but it's Greek men fucking each other on the bowls. There you go.
Just because Out of context, it sounds like there's a whole party going on during the dinner party.
Hey, under the soup there was. Agador made soup for dinner and didn't make an entree, so they only made soup, and the soup was fucking terrible. So then the wig starts coming off, and then Catherine shows up, and now the jig is up. They reveal that they're actually gay, that Nathan Lane is actually whatever. Val says that is his mom, which is a nice touching moment, because it's sort of like he's been rejecting Nathan Lane the whole movie. And then they're stuck, because Gene Hackman tries to leave, but there's tons of paparazzi, there's tons of press, they know that he's up there, they know that he's above a nightclub, and there's no way to get out. So then they start hanging out, and they realize the only way out is to dress up as drag queens themselves and escape out the front door. So Albert dresses them up in drag. They dance out the front door to Sister Sledge's We Are Family, and then they get in the car and they leave. That's the end of the movie. During the credits, they have an interfaith service, half Christian, half conservative, half Jewish, half gay, and it's very touching, and it's the end of the movie. That's the actual end of the movie. But
Is it touching, though?
I just said that because that's what you say about weddings. They're touching.
Well, I mean, you don't have to be polite to them. We don't know them.
Well, it's okay. Fine. It was a wedding.
There we go.
It's a wedding! That's what what's his name says? Old Billy Boy.
Kermit the Frog?
No. It's a wedding! What's his name? Gordon Ramsay.
Gordon Ramsay is a frog?
No. Are you making fun of me because I have a frog in my throat? Is that what you're doing?
No.
It's really offensive.
No. I would say you sound like Patrick Mahomes if you did.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, he does sound like Kermit the Frog. So yeah, that's the general plot of the movie. All right, so which of these are mine and which of these are you? Oh, so the mine are the first, right?
Yeah.
Okay, mine are on there first. I already mentioned the LGBT representation in this movie. Again, I want to go a little more into this because think about what's going on at the time. The AIDS scare in the 80s is very serious, and like there is this public perception that is palpable. It's sort of like you're scared. Like if you're gay, you might die, right? People are just dying from AIDS. And to relate this back to something that I think, unfortunately, a lot of people in the audience might be able to relate to, but maybe are a little too young to remember. When Magic Johnson was diagnosed with HIV, he retired and came back. And then he was in the next year's All-Star game. And that moment in time is a really big deal. Because this went from being a disease that if you got it, you died. And it had really bad an omen on it, but also you didn't want people to know you had it. So like Freddie Mercury, right? Says that he has it, 5 days later he dies. Now he had it for a while, and it wasn't pleasant, but you don't want to come out and say, hey, I have this debilitating disease that, makes people not want to go anywhere near you. People don't want to touch your hand, like the whole thing with Princess Diana shaking the hands of people that had it, right? Like that. These are moments in time that are culturally relevant in the late 80s, early 90s. This movie came out in 96, but I think my point still stands. Like this exists as a good point in time for like reflection on society, because in my opinion, this is the first time in movies where when you hold up mirrors to real life, right? It is a reflection of maybe an aspect of gay culture, of queerness, that maybe for the first time in maybe the last 10 or 15 years was a laugh and not a you're gonna fucking die, right? Like there's a cultural significance to this, and I'm not trying to oversell it. This was not touchstone groundbreaking, right? Like it wasn't that. It wasn't trying to be that, but I think that the fact that it exists in its moment is good. And the other thing is, and I want to mention this because the joke at the end, the duology, which we do at the end of every episode, there are often really low links, but I really wanted to pick this movie, especially after seeing Wild Wild West, because I was very critical, and I think Tommy will agree, I was very critical about the you're an ugly man in a dress humor that was the center of a lot of the jokes in Wild Wild West. And I felt, I don't want to say exposed, but I felt like I was very much taking an aggressive stance. And so for my part, I wanted to pick a movie that I think did that very in a funny way. Like, yes, you can have a movie where it is the part of the humor is you're pretending to be a woman and it's not unfunny, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not offensive in a way. You know, it's not meant to denigrate people. And when did Wild Wild West come out?
99.
So these come out around the same point in time, right? So it's just like, you know, that's sort of where I'm coming from. You know, I think it has a lot of great zingers. I think the writing is really snappy. I think something that I've read people say about this versus the original French version of the film is like it just has those little pieces that make it more relevant culturally or maybe make it a little funnier. But I think that you put a lot of really talented actors with good writing in a sandbox and let them play, you know, and I love Robin Williams as the straight character. Like, poor choice of words. He is the non-flamboyant of the two, right? I love that role, and I love how he played it, and I can't imagine anyone else doing it any differently. You know, I said this too about the humor of the film. At no point are we laughing at, you know, Robin Williams and Nathan Lane. We're laughing sort of at Gene Hackman, which is turning that on its head. He's the satirical character, right? And I think that framing really helps the movie. I think that framing is what makes this work as well as it does. So I'm just going to go through a few performances that I think are really good. Nathan, oh, sorry.
Whoa. We're jumping from topic to topic now. I get my 2 cents in on the LGBT representation.
Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry.
Jeez.
Oh, all right. Here you go. I'm sorry.
No,
Here.
I do agree a lot with what you said about what the there's a fucking train in the studio now.
I know.
First we had my little gremlin boy come in here holding the record book, and now we got a train in here.
Tuminio. I'm sorry. You're a little record boy.
A record boy.
He has a name.
Yeah. Okay, and I don't gotta call him by it.
Wow. Wow. You're being Gene Hackman right now.
So I agree with a lot of what you said. I think the biggest thing this movie has going for itself in terms of representation is at no point is Robin Williams and Nathan Lane's relationship played as a joke or anything like that. There is fun poked at the characters and their eccentricities and you know, the mistakes and decisions they make. But the fact that they're in a relationship together is never the punchline. It's portrayed as a very loving and normal relationship, right? Because a gay relationship is a normal relationship. It's just people, you know, they react so poorly to it, even though it's the same. It's like, you know, love is love. So it was really nice to see a movie, especially from this era, that, you know, that focuses around a relationship like this, and it feels so normal. For Gene Hackman, yeah, he is like the character that is being, like, you know, what he represents in society definitely is what's being satirized. I'm not sure how actually funny it is, though.
No, I agree with that. Yeah, I don't know how it's not laugh out loud funny.
No, and just for me as a whole, like, I only had a few laugh out loud moments throughout the movie, like when they're like, just walk like John Wayne. And Nathan Lane does this, like, really, if you've ever seen Schitt's Creek, it's how Bob runs into the frame every time, just like the arms swinging at the side, and it just looks so ridiculous. And Robin Williams is like, you know what? Not the right choice, but I just realized that is how John Wayne walks. So, you know, there's a few funny moments, but yeah, getting back to the original thread of this part, like, it's just really, really relieving, especially because, like, if you look at other movies that have strong, like, LGBTQ themes or stuff like that in the 90s, like, you have Philadelphia starring Tom Hanks that centers around Tom Hanks getting fired by his law firm because he has HIV, and right, he was the one who has HIV.
Yeah, and it has Denzel Washington in it.
Yeah, and, like, you know, he's homophobic, right? Yeah. And, like, the focus isn't on a nice, loving relationship. Or in the 90s as well. Like Interview with a Vampire came out in like 94, and that has some themes of it, but it's like it's not the focus. So it's nice to have a movie that is the focus around this.
Yeah, like here's another popular LGBT movie that came out in 1995. To Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar, which is Wesley Snipes, Patrick Swayze, and John Leguizamo in drag, right? Like this is like these are the things that are coming out at the same time, you know.
Mm-hmm.
To your point about not being funny, or like only being a few times you laughed out loud, I do want to mention sometimes that I think I really laughed out loud. The soup thing is always funny for me.
Mm-hmm.
He may only made soup.
On a related note, Hank Azaria's character always walks around without shoes.
Yeah.
And then he's told to wear shoes, and the shoes he's wearing are too big. So he's really focusing on walking wherever he goes and is almost tripping all the time.
Yeah. He falls. I mean, he just straight up falls. I think Hank Azaria is funny no matter what. Like, that's the only performance in this that I'd be like, I think if you didn't think this was funny, I'd be frustrated with you.
He definitely was the funniest character in the movie.
Yeah. The scene in the beginning when Nathan Lane's crying and he's... I'm this short, ugly, fat thing. And Robin Williams goes, I made you short.
Yeah.
So there's I think there's funny movements throughout the movie, but those are just some of my favorites. The latter scene, I know, is probably the funniest thing that happens to Gene Hackman. The whole, like, him being in drag is not actually that funny. It's just like oh, this seems pretty predictable. Okay. Do you have anything else for representation?
Not really. You know, I myself am not a member of the drag community.
Neither
So
am I.
it's something that then, like, you know, I think both of us, like, it's hard to fully speak to how well this movie can represent that community.
Sure.
So I don't know. I feel like I'm sure it's there, but I just personally have a hard time seeing or connecting with anything on that front.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. I'm going to go through some performances that I really like. Gene Hackman, I think, is great as the grouchy senator. I don't think that's a role that needs to be funny, per se. I think it is being satirized. He is an embellishment on what 90s politicians were saying, you know? And he's supposed to be the sap, right? Like, he's the one that's supposed to fall for the joke. If you don't have somebody to fall for the bit, then you don't have anyone. And I think in that way he plays the part really well as like the person that like is just walking into the trap. Nathan Lane, I believe it was when they were doing the press tour for this movie, Nathan Lane and Rob Williams went on Oprah, and Oprah was really shitty. She was trying to out him on Oprah. And Rob Williams kept like throwing like the closet door shut basically because Nathan Lane wasn't ready to come out of the closet. And somewhere in there, underneath all of the like the costuming and the pouting and the playing the really over the top effeminate male stereotype, and all of that, and all of the gags that you know, the walking like a man and shaking hands and asking about the dolphins and all this stuff, right? All of that stuff that doesn't go anywhere because they basically decide he just can't pretend to be straight for an evening. I think it's funny, but there's a hint of truth in the performance. And I guess what I mean by that is it doesn't feel fake. It does. There's a feeling of authenticity. Like, this isn't a put on. This doesn't feel like someone doing an over the top interpretation of this person, this stereotype that we know. It doesn't feel like an over the top representation of that in an offensive way. There's a truth to it. It feels like there's an honesty about it. And part of that, I go back to this, is because he is not the joke. Like, some things that he does are funny, but in the same way that, like, someone being straight isn't the joke, him being gay isn't the joke, right? You're laughing at him walking like John Wayne. Or when he replies about football and Rob Williams says, I actually don't know if that's correct, right?
Oh man, the football talk is really funny.
Yeah.
The football talk got me.
Yeah. So I feel like there's an honesty to it that I like and makes it feel more genuine. Robin Williams right before this had done Mrs. Doubtfire, and I believe was originally cast as Albert, not Armand. And if I remember the story correctly, was it Steve Martin was supposed to play the straight character? I don't remember, but this movie is the combination of representation and success in a way that the Adventures of Priscilla or Queen of the Desert or Tu Wong Fu didn't actually reach, right? And the movies that did reach that kind of critical or commercial acclaim were movies like you mentioned, like Philadelphia, where the focus is on that you have AIDS. Like that's where the focus is. I find that this is a good movie to have been that moment of representation. You know what I mean? I feel like this is a good, I don't want to say standard bearer. It's a good representative for the community it's representing. And I'm glad that it had the response that it did, right? Commercially. Because that's how you get more stuff, unfortunately, is when you go and you get whatever. And I think this too, you can do stereotypes in movies. Like, you can. I know that comedians say you can't make any jokes anymore. You can't laugh about people anymore. You can do stereotypes in movies. The trick, and this is the hard part, is you have to then introduce the humanity and depth of their character after it. Because why would Albert go to all of this fuss, right? This isn't his son. Why is he going to all the fuss to pretend to be a straight man? Because he loves Armand and he loves Val, and he wants Val to accept him as a parental figure. And he says in the beginning of the movie, "You never share your son with me." And, you know, he feels like they just want him to go away. And the way that he does that, the way that Albert reacts is very over the top and dramatic and everything, but it's rooted in real hurt. Like, this is the person you love, your partner, and this is the person you raised, the son, who never knew the mother. So if you never knew his mother, that means the two of them raised him together in this, above this nightclub. You know, like, the person that you raised since he was a little kid doesn't want anything to do with you. You know what I mean? That's where you take the next level and you, like, okay, this is a human being. Like, this is a real thing. This is how it goes to one step beyond. So Robin Williams, in the capacity as the masculine man in the relationship, I think still has lots of moments where you pull back the curtain just a little bit, and underneath that mountain of chest hair and the mustache, which I love the mustache, by the way.
Looks great on him.
Yeah, it looks great on him. Behind that is, this is a gay man in a gay relationship, and he is the owner of a gay nightclub in Miami, and like, this is what it is. He's not Rock Hudson, which is also a funny example because Rock Hudson was gay. But, you know, my point stands. So those are the performances I wanted to highlight. I will now give you the floor to talk about any of those actors and their performances. And here is your introductory train whistle.
If I'm being honest, didn't really like Robin Williams' character in this movie.
Okay.
I guess the thing that I want to transition into talking about is this damn kid.
No, fuck the kid.
Val. So he is, we'll get into the age stuff second, but just speaking from like a humanity level and just having basic empathy, both him and Robin Williams are so devoid of empathy for pretty much this entire movie.
Mm-hmm.
They want Nathan Lane to hide himself in general, and then B, that's their first option. And when that doesn't work, then they're like, okay, then pretend to be the straight uncle. And when that doesn't work, they go back to just hide. Like, there's zero compassion or respect for Nathan Lane's him as an individual.
Yep.
And it just made it really, really hard for me to really engage with, because that's the thrust of the movie, right? Is them failing to say, yes, we're going to like just let you be you, and then that leading to the crazy predicament.
Mm-hmm.
And when that fails, and then by and large the humor didn't necessarily land for me in most parts, it makes it, there's very little to actually cling on to. I love Nathan Lane's performance and his character because, again, he's the only one who like makes sense in this movie and has empathy and an understanding of the situation. And it's so invalidating. He's just like, what, you don't want me at all? He's like, you guys don't want me. I'm just going to leave, which is like totally understandable because he's not being respected by either his partner or his child. And Robin Williams does nothing to back him up. Nothing. Like if Robin Williams, like, a good father in that position would, guide his son and be like, no, it's not right for us to hide who your other dad is. It's not right for us to hide who we are. What, we need to change ourselves just to benefit this guy who wishes we didn't exist. Like people like us didn't exist, like just to benefit him in his campaign. No, that's not a good lesson at all. And this kid's like, he's 20, right? Like,
okay, I know you're dying to get to the age stuff. Like,
let's talk. Okay, let's do it. I didn't mean to bring it up like that.
Yeah,
but
you did.
Let's do it.
Yeah, you did.
So he is 20. Val is 20 in this movie, and Babs, she isn't even 18. They say, we're not given a number, but because like I think they're talking about them getting married, like, but you're not even 18. So let's be generous and assume they mean she is 17, right? And at one point they say they've been sleeping together for at least a year.
Yeah.
So he was sleeping with her when he was a 19-year-old and she was a 16-year-old, which, yeah, it's only 3 years apart, but that's fucking weird.
Also,
that's
she's
not
in
right.
college as a 16-year-old.
We don't know that. I'm not sure we know that they're in college.
Okay.
They did say they met at school, but they don't say where.
He's drinking a beer, or he wanted a beer.
He wanted a beer, but he's only 20. But they're like, oh, they met at school. I'm just like, is he just hanging around in the parking lot at the high school or fucking what?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I don't know. Look.
And they said that they met when they've been sleeping together over a year. I assume that they've been together longer than that then.
Sometimes the first time people meet, they sleep together.
Yeah, but a fucking 19-year-old with a 16-year-old or an 18-year-old with a 15-year-old?
Yeah.
Come on.
All right. Can I throw something out?
Yeah.
So I said to you in the thing I wasn't going to talk about this, and here's the thing. Yes, it is gross, right? I'm not saying it's not gross. It is gross. And yes, you are right to bang the table on this. But the problem that I have is that this is solved by changing 2 lines of dialogue. Because the fact that you don't look at them and think, oh, she's 16 years old.
No, she looks fucking 35.
Yeah, I know. They didn't need to do
filmed.
it. Yeah, she was 35 when they did it. It's like, you don't need to pretend that she's 16.
Mm-mm.
It's just so... Yeah, so that part of it, I'm with you. It's just weird. They wanted them to be young so that they could be some kind of objection to it. Because then there's the whole question of why wouldn't you just run away, fuck your dad, and whatever. It's like, oh, well, maybe she needs his blessing to get married. Like, yeah, it just makes it rapey. Which, admittedly, not as big of a issue in 1996 than it is in 2024. But still. It's gross. The reason I'm not, like, jumping up and down, like I feel like you are, is because it's fixable with 2 lines of dialogue, and I could just as easily be like, yeah, this is just change 2 lines in the script and it's fine. Like,
just because it's easily fixable doesn't make it not weird. Like, it
is weird. I'm saying it's weird.
It could be a lot worse. We could have like a fucking Transformer situation where the dude is carrying around the card in his wallet about Romeo and Juliet laws. Like, it could be a lot weirder and a lot worse.
Gross.
Yeah. I think that's like Revenge of the Fallen or The Last Night or something like that.
I never saw any of those. So yeah, what we're talking about, the kid?
Yeah. Just he sucks. He sucks
both
because
kids
like
suck
every time, and it's like CJ saying both kids. It's because like the girl Babs, as I've been calling her, she herself like. It's not like she's in the clear because she lied to her parents about what Val's last name is to hide the fact that they're Jewish.
Yeah. No, there's lots of phobia at work here.
And anti-ism.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Like, the kids just suck. And, like, every time throughout the movie when it's, like, Nathan Lane is, like, you know, reacting negatively to what's going on, Val's like, no, you gotta hide he just keeps doubling down. And the only time he comes clean is when literally the wheels fall off the bus and the plan is just dead in the water. It's the only time. It's when his hand is forced. He's like, okay, here's what's actually going on.
Yeah, that's fair.
Which, speaking of things happening, like, at that specific moment, CJ, when is the right time to meet your bio mom?
I didn't think it would be asking her to do a charade.
Mm-hmm.
I would have thought you would have met her at least the day before.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he would have gone with them to the office to meet.
Mm-hmm.
Not when you're trying to pass off that you have a loving relationship with your mother. That is not the time to do it.
And you know what's crazy is they live like 5 minutes from her.
They don't live 5 minutes from her. They do.
Well, they live
up,
very close.
They live close enough that you could drive there in like a reasonable amount of time. Like
I thought she was also in Miami.
She is still in Miami, but like, you know, what? That's like saying, oh, well, you live in Chicago, so you must be neighbors with everybody in Chicago.
No.
Yes.
They literally. Robin Williams and Nathan Lane hop in the car and he calls and he says, we will be there in 5 minutes.
Weren't they? Yeah, they were in the car. You don't know how long they were driving for.
Okay, but keep in mind, this entire afternoon was on a crazy timetable. And I was breaking it down while we were watching. Like, they're doing all of this in an afternoon. Like, logistically, they had to have been pretty close. And I'm not sitting here to say, like, oh, if you were like adopted or you don't know one of your bio parents and you just so happen to live near them, like, you should meet them, because that's not true. But when the mom and son are so willing to go along with this plan on a whim, it's like, you're trying to tell me that there wasn't another situation at any point where you're like, you know what, let's have you meet your mom. Like, both of them seem open to it, and when they did meet, they're like, hi, you know, it's nice to meet you.
Yeah, like, the mom didn't seem averse to ever meeting the son, and it's not like they had a negative reaction when she met Robin Williams for the first time after all those years. So, like, I get what you're saying. About the
they
time,
danced.
I will say, we know that it had to have been more than 5 minutes because she was stuck in traffic. And she was stuck in traffic for, like, hours? Well,
like half an hour, because she called and said, hey, I'm stuck in traffic. I'm going to be there in like half an hour.
Yeah.
Remember when she was leaving the voicemail? So with traffic, it's like half an hour.
Yeah, listen. I'm not saying... I don't know what I'm saying. I agree. There is some weird time dilation, but every movie has stupid time dilation. Unless you're 24.
Or high noon.
Yeah, 3:10 to Yuma, also famously on time.
CJ, something else that I just couldn't not bring up in this discussion. RFK Jr. is canon in this movie.
Oh, God. Yeah. All right, go ahead.
At one point, they're like, oh, there's a ton of Kennedys out there. There's a ton of Kennedys. There's like 50 Kennedys. I'm just like, there's no shot RFK Jr. isn't not in this audience, probably carrying a whale head to the table with him or some shit. Just had to bring that up.
You just had to.
Another small thing, Gene Hackman's character represents Ohio.
Does he?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he represents Ohio. And
that's so cringe, bro.
Yeah, just first being from Ohio, that's, you know.
That's what the Gen Alpha says, though. They say Ohio when they mean cringe.
I've been on the Ohio is cringe train for years.
Yeah,
but
I've been calling this place. What is it?
Oh shoot, what was it? I've been calling this place. Oh,
a napkin.
Oh, was it a napkin?
No, what was it?
Oh God, this is great content. Two friends trying to remember an inside joke.
Oh my God, so for context, we were hanging out, and we went to this bar. And we were waiting for a table, and there was a bunch of shit written on the back whiteboard, but it was really old and no one had ever wiped it off. It was like New Year's from like 10 years ago or something. And oh my God, it was like, I've been calling this place a blank for years. Oh God, what did you call it?
I don't even remember.
That was the fucking catchphrase for a lot of GDQ. The last time that we hung out. Damn, what was it? I'm gonna look it up.
It'll come to us.
Yeah.
Where are you gonna look this up? The freaking okie dokie Wikipedia page?
I'm sure I've written it down.
And while CJ looks that up, near the end of the movie, when everything is unfolding and whatnot, and Gene Hackman is like, they're all talking. Gene Hackman says to Nathan Lane, like, I hope this doesn't influence your vote. Guy, you're representing Ohio. And you're running for re-election for Senate. You think a guy who lives in Florida can vote for you? Did you find it?
I did not find it.
I've been calling this place. I feel maybe it was Napkin.
I don't think it was Napkin.
One other thing I wanted to mention just real quick before diving into a bit of a meatier topic is I really liked the cinematography in this movie. I looked into who the director of photography was. This guy named Emmanuel Lubezki.
Mm-hmm.
And early on, I was like, this reminds me of the movie Birdman. I don't remember exactly. I think it was just, there was just kind of like a longer shot with kind of a dynamic camera. I'm like, this feels like I'm watching Birdman. Guess who was the director of photography for Birdman?
The guy.
Emmanuel Lubezki.
Wow.
My man. You know what else he did, though?
What?
The Cat in the Hat.
Oh, fuck that. That movie was terrible.
Your favorite movie.
No.
But he also did Children of Men, Burn After Reading, Gravity, The Revenant, done a good handful of like really solidly shot movies, like among others. And the lighting was really well done. And it just, I remember saying while we were watching this movie, like, I miss movies that look like this. Like, this movie just looks good in a scene where they're rehearsing a dance, and it's like not even supposed to be a necessarily overly dramatic scene. It's like a lot's played for comedy, but it's still there was a lot of effort in the lighting and the staging of the scene and the placement of the cameras. It was just really well shot. So I wanted to call that out. But I guess my big complaint with this movie is how long it takes to get to the point. And once it gets to the point, how it resolves. Because like we said, like, this movie takes like an hour 15, maybe hour 20 to actually get to the parents arriving. And even then, it's another like 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes before Nathan Lane graces everyone with his presence, pretending to be Val's mom. So it takes a while to get to this goofy situation of hiding intentions and pretending to be other people with the ticking clock of the real mom, like the bio mom arriving. And I just wish we had more of that, because it is a naturally funny situation. You know, it's a lot of people who aren't good at lying and being on the same page with each other, constantly adding new details to the lie. We were cracking up because we're like, this son is the worst liar, because one, he stumbles over his words constantly, but two, he just keeps offering additional information and doubling down out of nowhere. Like Robin will, this isn't in it's one of those things where it's like Robin Williams could be like, oh yeah, no, I watched the Dolphins. And then Val, this doesn't happen in the movie, but it's almost like you go, actually, he played for the Dolphins. He was quarterback in 1985. You know, just offers that up as like, oh, great. Now we got to lie about that too, I guess. You didn't have to say that.
Exactly. He's like the worst person at improv.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's doing like yes and stuff, but it's like, dude, this is already a fucking tower that's going to topple over. We don't need your help.
Yeah, he just kept yes-anding all of these lies.
Yeah.
So I just wish that we had more time in that moment, and that was a bit more of the focus of the movie rather than them trying to plan this all. But I guess something that really, affects this movie for me is the way it resolves, because it comes together like the last, let's say, 8 minutes of the movie. There's about 2 minutes, maybe 3, when the bio mom arrives and the situation is explained, and then Gene Hackman is confused, but his wife kind of straightens it out for him and is like, how dare you be more concerned with your career than your family's happiness, right? And then we go immediately into, well, we need to leave, but there's not paparazzi. The press is outside. Okay. And then the next like 4 minutes of the ending are just them dancing to We Are Family. And then they exit the nightclub. And then it's like during the credits, maybe even was the wedding. And it's just like the entire climax is them sneaking him out. But he himself shows no change of character through it.
Yeah.
It feels like no lessons are learned. The only reason why the truth came out was because of the fact that the biomom arrived.
Yeah.
And it just, it feels like there's, I don't know, it to me, it makes it feel like there's not like a heart to this movie where, you know, it's not that it's not a happy ending, but it almost kind of feels like there is no ending to me. So I guess that's what really affects this movie for me negatively is like, yeah, I want the climax. Like, I understand, like, oh, okay, they are dancing to the song We Are Family. That says something subtextually about, you know, they're on a unified front. They're working together. But we don't even see Gene Hackman, like, look at one of them and be like, you guys are all right. It's not like we need it spelled out for us like that, but there's zero. And then even at the wedding, the two sides are just, like, staring daggers at each other. It's like, it feels like we're in the same exact place where we started, except just the truth is out. It feels like...
Can I jump in?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna go the opposite way and say this. How do you possibly take Gene Hackman and make him okay with this? Gene Hackman's character, as it was written, as he played it, as everything that he said, how do you possibly get from where he was to where you're saying he could go in one dinner? The answer is you can't. And I think the honest way to do it is the way that they did it. Because politics and religion are two subjects that when you sit down and talk to somebody about, you both go into it knowing that you are not going to change your mind. But somehow you think you have a chance to change the other person's mind. That's every time that's one of the reasons I hate talking about both. Because if you and I disagree, there really isn't anything I'm going to say that's going to change your mind. But
I mean, as soon as I start talking smack about RFK Jr., though, we'd all know that you come jumping.
I honestly didn't even know what the whale head thing was. I'm so removed from this shit.
Oh, really? Oh, I got some information.
All right,
for
after
you.
the podcast. But like, there was famously above the writer's room in Seinfeld, there was a sign that in Latin said "No lessons, no learning."
They had it in Latin. Those pretentious fucks.
But I'm saying this to say, like, we didn't need him to like have this softer. He didn't need to leave this different. You know, he didn't need to leave this a changed person. He didn't need to see, oh, well, he really does. She literally does love Val, because that's not who he is. Because none of his calculations are about the happiness of his family or his children. They're about winning an election. And to have that much of a character shift would either feel completely disingenuous and fake and bullshit, or it'd be the equivalent of making the movie about him, which it's not. So I think that it is true to form as a media representation of what most people who reveal something about themselves to their families' reactions actually are. Because as much as we like to think that most people have the hug and the cry and everything's good, most of the time it's not like that. Most of the time it's the uncomfortable staring daggers and the slow thaw of the ice as what is now not normal and outside of what that person's comfort zone is becomes their new normal. And I think that in that way, I'm not apologizing for the plot, because you and I agree that they kind of rushed along everything. So you and I are in agreement on that, and I agree with basically everything that you said about the storyline. But I don't disagree with how it ended for Gene Hackman, because him being in drag at the end is as much of a punishment as it is for his takes and his opinions and his behaviors, as it is it's not meant to be like a cultural awakening. His punishment is that he's the girl at the party that nobody wants to dance with. So I think that that's my rebuttal to that, and obviously I'll give you time to challenge what I said. Hang on.
So I don't disagree that, this is the more realistic outcome, but I just feel like it doesn't belong in the movie. Like it's such a different, it's kind of a nothing note to end this movie on that is about this love. Like there's no lessons learned for Robin Williams and Val and whatnot. Like ultimately the truth came out. That was the resolution. The truth is out. They can get married. But that being the resolution isn't satisfying in any way. There's no resolution to any of the characters and their arcs. The character who had the biggest arc is the senator's mom, not mom, wife.
Mom.
Yeah. Who Diane Wiest? Her character has the biggest arc because like she's the one at the end who's like, oh yeah, no, this is whatever. This is okay. You need to not be concerned with your career. And it just, again, like, yeah, I don't disagree that this is the most likely outcome and whatnot, but I just don't think it fits in this movie with the tone that this movie was setting. I feel like it just...
On that note, Tommy, I think we just have to agree to disagree.
Maybe.
Not in a argumentative way. I don't know another point I could make that will change your mind, so I am just respecting your viewpoint on it,
Wow. Is this the first time CJ has ever respected my viewpoint?
No. Wow. I miss Two Minio.
That was his name?
Yeah, Two Minio.
Oh, he doesn't
You named
speak.
him.
No, you did.
No.
Oh.
I said something, and then you cut me off.
What? Hey, excuse me, referee, editor, please insert who named my little goblin record keeper right here. Let's insert that.
Hey, listen, this is really interesting. So, okay, Stat Boy.
Yeah.
Sorry, hang on. It's not
Yeah.
you that has the record books. It's our Stat Boy, Two Minio.
Tumidio,
Yeah.
get in here.
Two Minio, yes.
What the? There's a fucking train in the studio now.
I know.
First we had my little gremlin boy come in here holding the record book, and now we got a train in here.
Two Minio. I'm sorry. You're a little record boy.
A record boy.
He has a name.
Yeah, okay, and I don't gotta call him by it.
Well,
wow, look at that, CJ. You were the one.
I think that the evidence is going to show that I am correct and that you were the one, because I started saying something and then you changed what I said and we went with that because it was funnier.
What are we putting on the line for this? Any bets?
How about a nice shiny new penny?
Okay.
To be tendered the next time we hang out, which is in less than a month.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That is great. I'm going to have such a crazy fucking month, dude.
I don't doubt that. But CJ, speaking of crazy, if you were thrown into this crazy situation, could you have done it? Could you have done a birdcage? Could you have done the birdcage?
I gotta ask.
Yeah.
What role? And it's okay if the answer is multiple roles. We can go through that.
Okay, so I feel like the conceit of the movie is them having to trick Gene Hackman and whatnot and get through dinner, right?
Yeah.
That's the wacky situation they get thrown into. So could you pull off this wacky situation? If you were in a relationship with Robin Williams, do you think you could convince...
So I'm in Nathan Lane.
Yeah. If you think... If you had an ultra-conservative senator coming over for dinner, do you think you could pull it off?
Yes.
Can you go into any detail or no?
Unequivocally, I believe.
Unequivocally,
I feel like I could do the Nathan Lane part. And to boot, dare I say, I might bring a little extra flair to the role.
Wow.
I think
you're saying you would be better at this than Nathan Lane?
No, I'm not saying I would be better at Nathan Lane, but I think that the 2024 equivalent of Gene Hackman, I would go full Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I'd have him eating out of the palm of my hand.
I see what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. See,
Well,
I have a more bigger deep end to go off of. You see.
So wait, are you saying that you would lean into it and pretend you're also ultra conservative?
Like Nathan Lane did, yeah. But
but Nathan Lane stood by his beliefs. Nathan Lane didn't pretend he was conservative at all. Nathan Lane was kind of challenging him.
No, he did.
No, I thought that throughout he was kind of challenging Gene Hackman's beliefs, because then when it's revealed, like Gene Hackman he even says like she's very standoffish, but I like her. And then when it's revealed, Nathan Lane is like, everything I said was still me. Like, I'm still me. I'm still the person you met.
The line in the synopsis is that that Albert dresses as a conservative middle-aged woman.
See, okay, yeah, by visually conservative, yeah, like, but he doesn't.
Is this a bit that you're doing, or are we having an actual disagreement? Because
genuinely,
I thought that she was kind of agreeing with Gene Hackman.
I see. I thought she was kind of pushing him back.
Nathan Lane. Okay, well, all right. Put editor note here. Can Mineo in post come with the record book and let Tommy know what the verdict on that one is? We'll make that one a shiny nickel.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is, Mineo, please insert some clips from the movie here on the view, like that are the views that Nathan Lane portrays while in disguise. How about that?
Okay, sure you go. There you go.
And here are those clips.
Maybe I'm just an old-fashioned girl, but I pity the woman who's too busy to stay home and take care of her man.
Hear, hear. Now, this is what Clinton didn't understand when he started in on school prayer and gays in the military.
All right for you.
Now, there's an idiotic issue. Gays in the military. I mean, those haircuts, those uniforms. Who cares?
You shouldn't be talking about things you don't know about.
Val, don't patronize your mother. She's an amazingly intelligent woman. You know, I think homosexuality...
Lots more ice for you.
Lots more ice, Dad.
One of the things that's weakening this country.
Really? You know, that's what I thought until I found out Alexander the Great was a fag. Talk about gays in the military.
Stop the doctors, you'll stop the abortions.
Well, that's ridiculous. The doctors are only doing their jobs. If you're going to kill someone, kill the mothers. That'll stop them.
May I see you for a moment, dear?
Oh, I know what you're going to say. If you kill the mother, the fetus dies too. But the fetus is going to be aborted anyway, so why not let it go down with the ship?
Wow, those are some awesome clips.
2 for 2. I am on fire. I'm 6 cents richer.
I fucking hate this. Anyway, I definitely do the Nathan Lane role. I could not do the Val role. I'm saying I could not do Val because I could not do that to people I care about.
See, I agree with that. I could do the Val role in that I could definitely pull off the lie because I would not be doubling down at every opportunity.
Yeah. Oh, you know, my dad played for the Bears.
It's just like, what?
The 85 Bears, actually. Oh, really? Wow. There was only 53 of those guys. Which one was he?
Walter Payton is my godfather.
Unky Dan Marino.
Oh, man. Well,
all right. So, yeah, I could have done it.
Let's get to our most important question then. CJ, is this film okie dokie?
I want you to answer first.
You know, I'm still on the fence. I really am. But thinking about it now, I think that in order for something to be okie dokie for me, I have to feel confident in it. I have to feel confident in me giving the yes. And because I'm still so on the fence and feel like it could be yes, could be no, I think that means ultimately it is a no for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Not to say that there's not positive qualities to this movie, because there are good things in there, but
that is not what I thought when I went into this. I didn't think this was going to be the outcome, but here we are.
Yeah. I'll still say I enjoyed it. I still enjoyed my time watching it with my best friend, but
you know, honestly, that's kind of the hard part, because I think that most of the movies that we've given thumbs downs to, I didn't have fun watching them. You know what I mean? Like, you Mineo, could you summon the movies and let Tommy know the movies that I gave a thumbs down to?
Oh yeah, he just ran in and is holding the giant record book above his head again. Man, he's really short.
It'd be really funny if like we had like the little like TikTok like running, the Scooby-Doo running sound effect.
Oh, the scrabbling kind of thing. So the movies that CJ has said no to are Chicken Run, Armageddon, Renaissance Man, and Wild Wild West.
All right. If we ever go back and do like a would you re-rate it situation after we do like a bunch of them, I would genuinely say I didn't like Armageddon, but I think you should watch it. Like,
Armageddon is so fun.
Yeah, I think that the way that I define my okie dokie thumbs up, the way that I'm defining it is, should you watch it? I feel very strongly you don't ever need to see Wild Wild West, you don't need to see Chicken Run, and you don't need to see, what was the other one?
Renaissance Man.
I just personally like that movie.
Don't you dare say that movie is worth watching.
No, I wouldn't recommend other people watch it. It is just personally one of my liked movies. So if we ever went back, I might change my vote on Armageddon, but I'm also fine leaving it as a thumbs down because I didn't enjoy it. This, first of all, this movie is 100% okie dokie for me. Like, it's not a question. I think my line for okie dokie is would I tell somebody to watch this movie? And I would tell lots of people to watch this movie. I would say you should watch it because it's really funny. And that is my guiding line. Like, would I recommend this to somebody else? Would I watch it again? Mm-hmm. And I think for me, both of those are checked. Mm-hmm. We don't have a definition for what it is. And I actually kind of like that it means two different things for the both of us in a weird way. But yeah, no. So I definitely think you should watch this movie if you're out there listening. If you agreed with anything that I said, for nothing else, you will laugh because Hank Azaria will make you laugh. Agador is hilarious.
Well, CJ, since you're talking about things that people should watch this, what are some other things people should check out?
Recently, I started watching a little-known show because Tommy literally banged the table about it. I am, of course, talking about Schitt's Creek. I binged the first season while I was sick this weekend, and I gotta be honest, I wanted to come on here and talk to you about it because watching the show, for the first, I don't know how many episodes the first season has, 12 episodes? For the first 11 episodes, I'm watching it, and I'm not really laughing, but I'm watching it, and I'm sensing a pattern for shows that you've recommended to me. And it is of the rich people who are in a poor people situation, like the living like the rest of us kind of thing, or poor or rich people not understanding how the world works, or rich people kind of being assholes.
This is two shows that I've recommended to you.
Yeah, but it's a pattern. And
two is
out
a
of
pattern?
out of three shows you've recommended, two of them were this.
I've recommended so many more shows to you that you've watched than
no.
two. I've recommended Ted Lasso and Shrinking, Succession, The Bear, Schitt's Creek.
Yes,
it's more
and
than
Succession and Schitt's Creek are the two that I'm talking about.
Severance.
I did watch Severance.
Yeah, there's more. There's more. You're forgetting a lot of shows.
Anyways, so part of me was like, I think Tommy just misunderstands what I think is funny because I just don't think that is funny. Like, I don't think the rich people out of water situation is funny. And I wasn't actually going to recommend it. You may understand that we're in the rec room now, so obviously I like Schitt's Creek. The final episode of season 1 recontextualized the show for me in a way, and I am now interested in what happens to these characters. Mm-hmm. Season 1, spoiler, basically the premise of the episode is they think they're getting out, they are destroying the lives they've made, and then for a reason I won't say, for spoiler reasons, they're not getting out of the town. And now they have to live with the mess that they made. Right? And I found that actually interesting as like a way to go forward, like a plot. Because the first season was a lot of, we're just living in the town. We're just living in the town. There's no overarching story. We're just living in the town. And we were rich and now we're not. We're just living in the town. So I just didn't genuinely vibe with it, but I can wholeheartedly recommend at least the first 2 seasons are pretty good. So I've been really enjoying that.
Can I do a quick cosign
go
on
ahead.
that? When I first watched this show, I watched it in 2020, early 2021. I watched through it and I thought it was funny enough to keep with it, but it wasn't until about like season 4 or 5 that it really started to click with me. I'm like, okay, yeah, no, this show is hilarious. It's kind of like it takes you a while to kind of get the characters, and once they kind of click for you, it's like the funniest ensemble cast I've ever seen. And even going back and rewatching it, because I've been rewatching it, it's been my show to have on while lifting for the past month or so. I find myself just dying laughing at stuff in every season now. It's so good. It's so good. It's I don't want to spoil too much of where it goes, but the characters all have such incredible journeys, and the show has such incredible messages, and it's really good. So big cosign for CJ's Schitt's Creek recommendation. I can't wait to hear your thoughts as you proceed through it.
Yeah, I haven't had time to watch. I've been really busy, but I was sick, so I had no choice but to be free, and I chose to play Kirby and watch that at the same time. So shout out to Kirby. Man, what is it in a movie or a show that I can recommend? Like I said, I've kind of been tied up. So I guess I'll say I recommended The Bear, didn't I? Didn't I recommend that last time?
You actually did not recommend it. We just talked about it.
Oh, I would recommend The Bear.
Yeah, it just won 1 billion Emmys.
Yeah, but it didn't win Best Comedy, which makes sense because I didn't find that show funny. I did not find that show to be haha funny. I will say, I know we talked about it, but the last episode has a scene in it that really resonated with me, and I'm really excited to watch season 4. Oh, I'll recommend one more. If you're looking for a movie that's that I find to be, it's not genre defining, it's genre redefining. If you're looking for like an entry point into the Western genre, I would recommend Unforgiven. It is an older Clint Eastwood. Sorry, the movie's not older. It came out in 92. The actor, Clint Eastwood, is older in his representation of the character, William Money. It has Morgan Freeman, and it is about getting revenge. And Gene Hackman is also in the movie, which is why I thought about it. And it turns the genre on its head and takes all of the shine off of the Rhinestone Cowboys and the Singing Cowboys. It kind of it spits in the face of the John Wayne good guy doing the right thing for the right reason. And even the Clint Eastwood, like, force of nature stuff from, like, the spaghetti westerns and his younger days, like Pale Rider or High Plains Drifter and things like that. All of those things notwithstanding, this movie is basically, like, the guttural truth of what, a closer representation of the truth of what these people might actually have been like. And, like, not being motivated by altruism, not being good people, and being, what does revenge do, and, what do we deserve, I think. So if you're looking for a really, really good movie and you really aren't into Westerns, I can wholeheartedly recommend this movie to anybody who, regardless of the genre, if you're genre agnostic or genre dependent, I can wholeheartedly recommend that movie. It is just a great film regardless. So highly recommend. It was on it was in my YouTube clips algorithm. The YouTube started serving me clips from Unforgiven the other day, and it made me think of it. So those are my 3 recommendations. Tommy, what do you have?
I have 3 recommendations as well. I will try and keep them brief. First is Astrobot, the new PS5 game, at least new as of time at the time of this recording. If you have a PlayStation 5 and you have not played Astrobot's Playroom, it is a free game that comes with the PS5. Drop what you're doing, go play it. It's just a charming little tech demo platformer on the PS5 that is like really the only game that makes full use of the DualSense controller. Really fun, really cute. Good time. And the studio that made that tech demo, Astrobot's Playroom, just released Astrobot, a full-length game of the same thing. The studio is named Team Asobi, and it's just a delight. It's fun from front to back. It's not too long. I 100%ed it in about probably like 10 hours or so, maybe a little less, maybe give or take an hour or two. It's a delight. It's a celebration of PlayStation. So if you're a PlayStation fan and you have a PS5, for sure, get Astrobot. The other 2 things I wanted to rec were movies, both of which I have seen before that I rewatched recently. The first is the classic movie The Room, starring Tommy Wiseau. Jade and I watched this about a week ago. She had never seen it. I have seen it before, if not multiple times over the years from all the scenes I've watched from it. And it's just the best, worst movie ever made. If you like bad movies, you like laughing at bad movies, you gotta watch it. It is an essential watch. I feel like there's not too much to say about it other than, because its reputation precedes itself. So I feel like I don't have to speak to it too much. The second movie I wanted to recommend is another one that I rewatched because we're getting to Halloween soon. We're halfway through September. And we recently watched the movie It Follows, which is one of my favorite horror movies of the last decade. It's a small budget indie movie starring Micah Monroe, who was in Longlegs this year. And it's more or less about this girl who sleeps with a guy and he passes on. It's pretty much an allegory for an STD where more or less you're followed by this thing and it can look like anyone and it just walks at you. CJ, have you ever heard that what if question, that scenario of like, you have $1 billion and a snail is always crawling at you, and if it touches you, you die.
Yes, that originated from the Rooster Teeth podcast, fun fact.
Well, this movie is pretty much that. And it's horror, and it's really well done. It's very atmospheric, very clearly inspired by the original Halloween in both how it portrays this thing just constantly walking and appearing, and also its synth soundtrack. It captures the Midwest better than most movies that take place in the Midwest. It takes place in Michigan and the Detroit metro area. And it's a really good movie. There's a bit of ambiguity in it, which I really enjoyed. It's not perfect. There's, you can nitpick it a bit. I think everyone watches it and afterwards is like, I wouldn't have done that. It's one of those. But the characters aren't stupid enough to where it ruins the movie. And it's a really fun premise, and it's really well done. It's effective. When I was outside with my dogs, like taking them out before bed and walking them around the block, like I'm just outside. It's like past midnight, and I'm just looking around. It's dead quiet. I'm just like, I feel like I'm being followed, and I just like kind of was looking around, and I was just waiting for me to see like a woman in a hospital gown walking at me from across the street. So yeah. CJ, you want to run through your 3 recs real quick again?
Yeah, The Bear, Schitt's Creek, and Unforgiven.
Very nice. And I wrecked Astrobot, The Room, and It Follows. But let's get to the most important thing. CJ, it's your choice, since we made that deal last episode where you get the next 2 movies and I get the 2 after it. So CJ, what are we watching next time?
In our continuing trilogy.
Whoa.
Yeah, I decided not to waste this. In our continuing trilogy in how men dressed as women can be funny, we have Some Like It Hot. Have you ever seen the movie before?
No.
Marilyn Monroe.
Wow, I think this will be the first Marilyn Monroe movie I'll ever watch.
Really? You've never seen a Marilyn Monroe movie?
I don't think so.
Yes, Marilyn Monroe, Marilyn Monroe, Tony Curtis, Jack Lemmon. So...
I think I know how this one ends.
Yes, many people know how it ends.
Yes, it's a very famous quote, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Yes.
Well, I'm excited.
I'm excited too. So there you go. Our first trilogy. And
wow.
I'm excited. I've been CJ.
I've been Tommy.
And this has been The Film is Okie Dokie. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, give us 5 stars. If you only give us 4 stars, I'm inclined to believe that you are a hater. Thank you, Bomani Jones with Wave Sports Entertainment for the quip, and congratulations on the new gig. And we will see you next time on the podcast. Ta-ta.
Bye.
Yo, Too Many needs a pay raise, but
no.